Bitch, you know the scope is murder when I'm crossing through your fucking hood. Bullies with them bullies, making the set is still up to no good. Bring the pump, leaving the body inside of the trunk. You ready to slump, make a little body and leave it in trunk. Slow to the phone, rolling the snow. West side, jumping out the whip with a full clip, then I let it bust with a deadly touch. Get him drunk as fuck, don't get stuck by the devil's son. Curse and burn by the flames, insane in the range. I'm bringing the pain, locked in the brain. I don't give a fuck, hanging myself, then cut in the vein. It's a stick up, my chopper do the hiccup. Pull up with a cuete and 5 prices in the pickup. Long hair dragon with the silverback gorilla. Keystone the prince down south in North Khalifa. Ain't shit change, walking around with my teaser. Homies keep the thing, Cholo trying to get that visa. Swiping, no swiping, MasterCard or the Visa. Simon get slime, fuck boy, it's a season. I'm ready to die for Trump.
Okay, hello everybody. Happy Sunday. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. What we are going to do today is I am intending to, and hopefully you guys can hear me okay. Let me know if you can't. But we're going to try to wrap this whole thing up because I'm tired of looking at it. I'm tired of talking about it. I want to be done. So we're going to try to burn through this as quickly as we can. I think that the fair place to start, because I in particular would like to walk away from Candy Hook, is starting with Candace herself. That way we can just kind of leave her in the rearview mirror, so to speak. Obviously, there's been some weird stuff. There was that shooting this weekend, and, was Erica's PR tour for the book Candy Hook's new 9/11, the project for a new American cat fight? I don't know. I think so. It's funny to think about. But there's also that shooting, right? So, that's weird. What the fuck was Candace talking about? There was going to be, a 9/11 type event. And if you don't know what PNAC is, I'm not here to get into it. Go investigate for yourself. It was very sus of her to say that. That's all I'm saying. I don't know if other creators have talked about this because I haven't watched them. Some people have tagged me. And I think that other creators agree with me from a very brief clip that I saw. And I would agree that as a creator, as a researcher, I don't even like using the term creator, but this is the term that people use. Don't just send me to somebody's channel because I'm busy. I don't have time to watch a 5-hour live stream. So give a timestamp. And I don't get that. And I appreciated where this person was coming from in regards to give me a timestamp, get to the point, right? Because we all have things to do. We all have lives. So that would be ideal. I don't know if anybody's covered this, but I just want to touch on it because Candace was still a part of Turning Point up until a couple months ago. And it's still not even clarified if she isn't a part of Turning Point anymore. There seems to be a bit of a shell game going on with Blexit and this new foundation that they've created, which is alive. We're going to look at it. We're going to look at everything. But I would like people to consider the fact that Candace was paying herself $250,000 and George is, because we haven't gotten updated tax filings, right? So is kind of the kettle calling the pot black, so to speak. Just wondering, Candy. So let's go ahead and let's look at the Nonprofit Explorer first. This is from ProPublica. This is my personal favorite, or at least one of my favorites. So headquartered in Nashville, that makes sense. See, 2023, this is the last year that we have right there. They didn't do so great this past year. And I'm not going to sit here and go through the entire board. This is public information. However, president and director compensation, zero. Wasn't the case in 2022. She paid herself $250,000. $250,000. 2021, another $250,000. So that's $500,000. Oh, and look, almost $250,000 right here. And prior to that, nada. So where's the Brexit filings? Because I found a very interesting article that we are going to read through that, in my opinion, I wish I would have found the article sooner. I think it's really fascinating because it's from Fortune, that this whole Charlie thing from Candace, obviously you guys know that I think it's a major kayfabe. But they lay out a really good argument here about this Macron lawsuit showing that she is fucking lying to everybody. And I've said this. It's a big club. We ain't in it, but she is. And so is her old man. And the audacity of her to sit there and even posit setting up a security fund as if her husband cannot afford it, as if John Mappin cannot call the royal family and afford it. And do you think that leaders of the French government are going to put out a hit on the Honorable George Farmer, the son of Lord Farmer, his wife? You guys realize that you're getting taken for a ride, right? Have you figured it out yet? I hope so. It's a little bit of a read, but I think that it's worth it, and it's relatively recent. Inside the Economics of Candace Owens' Media Empire and the Macron Lawsuit Threatening to Unravel It by Lily May Lazarus, December 2nd, 2025. 5 years ago, Candace Owens was a mid-tier political operative working for Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA. Now she's a globally famous conservative firebrand with one of the fastest-growing independent media platforms in the U.S., ranking in cash through controversy. But the same contrarian playbook that launched her solo career now threatens the media empire she built. Her company generates up to $10 million in revenues per year, according to an analysis by Fortune, implying that the company's valuation would be multiples of that. The conservative podcaster and provocateur is facing a high-stakes defamation lawsuit filed by the French President Emmanuel Macron and Brigitte Macron, the First Lady. Like I said, there's a conversation to be had, Big Mike. The suit is set to test whether the controversy is currency au jour that made Owens rich and gave her a media brand that reaches tens of millions of people can survive what experts say will be an immensely costly legal battle. The 219-page complaint, filed in Delaware Superior Court in July 2025, accuses Owens of orchestrating a campaign of global humiliation by promoting the conspiracy theory that Brigitte Macron was born male. Well, I'm sorry, you kind of look like a dude, man, I'm just saying. The plaintiff's weapon of choice, Claire Locke, the law firm that extracted a record-shattering $787.5 million settlement from Fox News on behalf of Dominion Voting Systems, the largest media defamation payout in American history. Holy crap. The Macrons vehemently deny Owens' allegations. Owens has vowed to fight the suit. Interestingly, the suit alleges that spreading false information is essentially Owens' business model. The complaint names 3 defendants: Candace Owens personally, Candace Owens LLC, her Delaware company managing social media and ad revenue, and George Tom Inc., presumably named after her husband George Farmer, who is directly involved in the business and operates her website and podcast distribution. In naming all 3 parties, the suit takes aim not only at Owens personally, but also her entire known business infrastructure. If there ever was a clear-cut case of defamation, this is it. Relying on discredited falsehoods originally presented by a self-proclaimed spiritual medium and so-called investigative journalist, Miss Owens both promoted and expanded on those falsehoods and invented new ones, all designed to cause maximum harm to the Macrons and maximize attention and financial gain for herself, a spokesperson for Claire Locke told Fortune in a statement. These claims are also reflected in the complaint against Owens. Despite the irrefutable evidence that was provided to her on multiple occasions, she not only persisted but doubled down on her attacks. To make matters worse, many others have republished her lies, thereby increasing their global audience and the emotional and reputational harm they have caused. It is clear that for Mrs. Owens, truth is irrelevant. This lawsuit is about bringing that truth to light and seeking justice for the Macrons by holding Miss Owens to account. We are confident that the facts are on our side and look forward to proving her reliability in court, the firm said. Owens did not respond to repeated Fortune requests for comment. Well, here's the thing, and I do feel that I kind of need to clarify this. There is a really valid conversation to be had that has nothing to do with dude looks like a lady, that regardless, there is a very serious age disparity, and you can't rewind the clock. You can't go back and change things. But there is a conversation to be had about the age disparity between the Macrones. And I think that that's a fair conversation. And I think that coming out in court, I'm trying to look at this from both sides. There's clearly some grooming shit going on there. And that's not cool, whether it's a dude or not. Because women do this stuff too. Again, I'm trying to read this objectively. Obviously, I think that it's funny, but at the same time, it's yes, there is a conversation to be had. I don't think that the Macrones, even if they were to win, I don't think that this is going to come out where they're going to look sterling. You groomed your student, and now you're the leader of your country. People are allowed to criticize that. It's pretty gross, regardless of whether, you got a dong or not. Just wanted to clarify that because I'm certainly not siding with the Macrones. So, millions on the line. Fortune studied public business records of Owens' business holdings, researched the podcast economy, and spoke to legal and media experts to develop insight into what Owens stands to lose in her legal battle. Understanding what's at stake starts with the scope and structure of her business empire. Her brand sits squarely inside the booming conservative independent media market, which has exploded over the past 5 years. When did Joe Rogan leave YouTube again? The scale of that economy helps explain how Owens has accumulated substantial wealth through her media ventures. The conservative media and influencer ecosystem has become one of the most lucrative corners of the creator economy, characterized by substantial advertising rates, distinctive monetization strategies, and revenue potential that often surpasses mainstream influencer markets. The Daily Wire, Owens' former employer, which is also considered a benchmark for the industry, generated more than $200 million in revenue in 2023, with comparable estimates for 2024. It has also grown into a diversified media operation with more than 1 million paid subscribers to its streaming service, Daily Wire Plus, and pulled in $22 million from e-commerce alone that year. Advertisers have followed the conservative media appetite and money. The top 10 advertisers working exclusively with conservative podcasts are now spending a combined $5 million per month, nearly 4 times their average monthly spend in 2023, a November analysis from Bloomberg found. Advertising rates for the top conservative podcast, experts told Bloomberg, range from $10,000 to more than $100,000 per ad read. Holy guacamole! By contrast, left-leaning podcasts with sizable YouTube audiences, like Midas Touch, 5.5 million subs, The Majority Report, and The Bulwark, under 2 million, typically secure only a few $1,000s per ad slot. Excuse me, a few $1,000s would change my life. Fuck off, this is ridiculous. The brands fueling this surge from Birch Gold Group, which spent roughly $10.8 million on conservative podcast ads over the past year, to Preborn, an anti-abortion group that spent $13.1 million since 2023, view conservative hosts as indispensable marketing channels. Many of these companies lack mainstream advertising avenues. Their customer base lives inside this ecosystem. It's the golden age of political content creation right now, Howard Polskin, president of The Writing, which reports on conservative media, told Fortune. He pointed to the ability of independent right-wing content creators to earn tens of millions of dollars through solo ventures, rivaling the revenue being generated by mainstream media competitors like Newsmax, which reported $43.3 million in revenue last quarter. The cold hard reality is that right-wing media generates millions of dollars and has roughly half the country under its spell, Polskin added. This power can prove extremely lucrative for the power players in the market. George Farmer, Owens' husband, told Bloomberg that advertisers on her show allegedly reported seeing returns of 2 to 1 on dollars spent and up to 5 to 1 in some cases. Oh, girl, you lying? You sitting there talking about, oh, you guys are elitist. The American people aren't going to take it. Bitch, take a step back. Right-leaning podcasts may command substantially higher ad rates because they have amassed larger and more engaged followings than their left-leaning counterparts, as a 2025 report from Media Matters found. But also, these audiences may be more likely to buy from ideologically driven brands, yielding better returns for advertisers. Following former President Joe Biden's election, Republicans increasingly flocked to politically aligned products, a 2024 Columbia Business School study found. Right-wing brands pay notably higher CPMs, cost per thousand impressions, a metric for online advertising that measures the cost to display an ad 1,000 times. Holy fuck, I'm sorry, this is crazy numbers to me. Rates liberal creators don't receive, according to Bloomberg. For shows with more than 100,000 downloads per episode, mid-roll ads typically fetch CPMs of $25 to $50, equating to $25 to $5,000 per ad, data from digital marketing firm Design Rush found. At Owen's peak of volume of roughly 3.5 million downloads per episode, even conservative CPM estimates put a single sponsorship read at $50,000 to $175,000, and she runs multiple sponsors per show. Hold, please. Let's talk about this for 5 seconds. Of course, she's sponsored by Oracle. She's sponsored by a lot of sus companies. Let's go with their low estimate with the ad. Because people who don't have YouTube Premium are still going to see the regular commercials. And then she's also reading, let's just say, even 3 ads per episode. On the low end, 50,000. That's an extra 150 grand per episode, and she's doing 4 to 5 episodes per week. Just like I say, Candace is a broken clock and she can be right twice a day. So can Erica. They're all grifting off of this situation. All of them. They all are. For Owens, this creates a direct financial incentive. The more provocative the content, the higher the audience engagement, and the higher the ad rates. Conspiratorial and provocative content blows up because people want to go deep and uncover hidden truths and be a part of the investigation. That's what Candace is doing, and that's what she was doing with Macron claims. Angelo Caruso, president and chairman of left-leaning media watchdog group Media Matters, told Fortune. Put simply, controversy drives views, views drive sponsors, and sponsors fund her entire operation. Ooh, girl. They're saying something here, that's all I'm saying. Before the Macrons filed their defamation suit, Owens had quietly built one of the most successful independent media machines in conservative politics after a contentious split from Ben Shapiro's Daily Wire in March of 24, allegedly sparked by a slew of on-air anti-Semitic comments and staunch criticism of Israel. She launched a solo venture that quickly scaled into a multimedia operation. The Daily Wire did not respond to a Fortune request for comment. Owens has previously characterized her firing from the media venture as a matter of principle, where she presented herself as a truth-teller who refused to bow to institutional pressure, and later accused the Daily Wire of launching a smear campaign against her. Owens' star power lies in her dynamism. Former Democrat founded the Blexit movement, a campaign for Black voters to embrace conservatism and leave the party, and is what Caruso calls a talented storyteller. She is also somewhat of a Renaissance woman. She is appealing to a segment and satisfying a demand right now, which is that you can be a modern woman and a mom, but also embrace traditional roles and ask hard-hitting questions and not be shot down for it, he said. Her digital footprint is vast. According to Media Matters, her follower and subscriber base grew by more than 9 million across platforms this year alone. Her self-titled podcast, Candace, which debuted in June of 2024, became a breakout hit. In October of 25, it ranked number 1 globally across platforms in downloads and views per episode, averaging 3.5 to 3.6 million downloads per show, a report from podcast analytics platform Podscribe found. And I'm sorry that I keep taking breaks on this. Someone who has the number 1 podcast in the world is not at risk of anything. Any suspicions that I had, or me trying to tiptoe around the topic and not hurt people's feelings, fuck directly off. You do not get to be number 1 in the world. From June of 2024 to October, that's a year and 4 months, roughly, give or take. Any of y'all that give her money, you're stupid. You're stupid. I'm sorry. You're dumb. You shouldn't do it. You shouldn't do it. Because I'm also going to give you a little tip from my side on YouTube. You notice how her ads are pre-recorded and she's in the same outfit? They've figured out a way to go live with pre-recorded content. She's not actually live, but she's doing that so that she can get super chats. She gets sometimes like between $5,000 to like $25,000 in super chats alone. It's pre-recorded. It's a fantastic money laundering strategy, absolutely. I've suspected the ex-Scientology community of laundering money this way for a long time when they were doing a lot of their fundraisers. And so this doesn't surprise me at all. It's a great way to move dark money. But she's not live. Those ads are pre-recorded in the exact same outfit, and that was the first tell that I could see. But she's not live. Do I think that they're probably recorded the night before, maybe the morning of? Probably. But they're not live. There are different ways. There are different streaming platforms that you can use to where it's going to mirror it in there, something that's already pre-recorded, just like if we were to watch a video. But she can afford that high quality streaming software and obviously like super HD camera and stuff, right? Don't spend your holiday money on this hoe. She's taking y'all for a ride. I'm just saying, she's not live. That you can take that to the bank. While she sits at number 28 in the US by weekly listener reach, behind giants like the Joe Rogan Experience and Crime Junkie, her per episode performance is exceptional. Her YouTube channel has 5.58 million subscribers and more than 1.1 billion total views, regularly drawing 500,000 to 2 million views per episode. This year alone, it has amassed more than 617 million views. Third-party analytics by content creation insight platform vidIQ estimate the channel generates between 118,000 and 353 grand per month in revenue alone, potentially 1.4 to 4.2 million annually before cost. Across social platforms, Owens also holds additional 6.9 to 7 million followers on X, formerly Twitter, and more than 5 million on Instagram, giving her a combined social media reach exceeding 10 million. That audience size puts her in league with major television personalities and gives her distribution power rivaling traditional media outlets. ABC's Good Morning America, for comparison, draws only an average of 2.59 million viewers per episode, according to Nielsen. Her podcast is The Financial Engine. According to Bloomberg, Owen's show had the highest ad density among 8 major conservative broadcasters studied. More than 90% of episodes contain host-read ads. She has roughly 60 sponsors in rotation, featuring the marquee names of conservative advertiser universe: Preborn, Birch Gold Group, The Wellness Company, which promotes ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine as pandemic-prepared medications, 7 Weeks Coffee, which donates 10% of purchases to crisis pregnancy centers, and Pure Talk, a conservative cellular carrier. Her husband, who oversees much of the business, told Bloomberg that only one advertiser he claimed has pulled out in the past year. Speaking fees add another lucrative income stream. Owens commands $50,000 to $100,000 for in-person appearances and $10,000 to $20,000 for virtual events. Merchandise sales and book royalties contribute additional revenue. Taken together, and given that podcast sponsorships alone could generate $2 to $10 million annually, depending on volume and rates, realistic estimates place Owens' yearly total income in the low to mid-single-digit millions. Exact figures, however, remain private. Structurally, Owens runs her business through 2 Delaware-registered entities, Candace Owens LLC, which manages her social accounts, and George Tom Inc., which produces her podcast. She employs fewer than 20 people, according to Delaware business filings reviewed by Fortune. Though the exact number of employees isn't disclosed, Owen's husband is a key player in her operation. If you guys know anything about opening up a business in Delaware and why this is shady as fuck, it's shady as fuck. We're not getting into it, though. Farmer, the son of Lord Michael Farmer, a British metals trader nicknamed Mr. Copper, who founded the Red Kite Group hedge fund, grew up in aristocratic wealth. His father's net worth is estimated to exceed $190 million. Farmer served as CEO of Parler, the conservative social media platform, from 2021 until stepping down in April of 23 after a turbulent tenure that included a failed acquisition attempt by Kanye West. He's also a shareholder and director of GB News, the Fox-imitating British broadcaster that has received over $90 million in funding from backers including hedge fund tycoon Paul Marshall. There he is, the sus lord himself. The McCrone complaint alleges Farmer is connected to Georgetown Inc., the Delaware corporation operating Owen's website and podcast. While ownership percentages aren't disclosed, the family businesses appear to be intertwined, and so, potentially, are the assets. Owen herself has been somewhat upfront about Farmer's role in her venture, specifically as it relates to his responsibilities. She has really been fairly firm in that she doesn't touch the business. She doesn't think about the business and mechanics. She really relies on George Farmer, Caruso told Fortune. Instead, he said, her focus is on being the talent and nexus of the Candace brand. This disconnectedness, Caruso said, may contribute to her seeming disregard for libel suits. Whatever she's done structurally, she doesn't seem terribly concerned about her entire life falling apart. Farmer's work experience is likely the driving force of this ease and may prove to be a saving grace for Owens. The genesis of Parler was that it was supposed to be a social media place that was not going to be susceptible to the types of economic, financial, and social pressures that the elites, the tech companies, the liberals were putting onto tech at that time, Caruso told Fortune. The fact that these people are sitting here trying to convince the public that they are not what they call the elite is a fucking joke, and it's insulting to everyone's intelligence. That experience, there was a recognition internally that they needed to do something, or they wanted to do something that was going to be that would allow them to operate unabated by traditional, typical market forces. And obviously that unraveled in a lot of ways, but I don't think it would be shocking to me if lessons incorporated from that did not factor into whatever Farmer and Owens are doing now to insulate themselves from certain types of civil accountability. While the exact methods through which Owens and Farmer may have protected their assets remain unknown, Caruso suggested that one option available to the pair may be to set up a network of trust to insulate their finances. The lawsuit itself presents its own set of challenges for both the McCrones and Owens, but recent judgments, including the $1.4 billion in damages levied against fellow right-wing personality Alex Jones, who promoted conspiracy theories about the Sandy Hook massacre, demonstrate a willingness of juries to hold independent media personalities responsible with substantial financial penalties for their action. Fake news. Likewise, in 2016, a Florida jury bankrupted the original Gawker blog with a $140 million judgment for invading the privacy of the late wrestler Hulk Hogan. Let's not forget who funded that against Hulk Hogan. It was Peter Thiel. Let's not forget that. It should concern everybody, and I'm not a black pillar, I'm not a doom pillar, but it should concern everybody that someone like Peter Thiel, who literally Gawker published Epstein's Black Book before anybody else, it should concern people that someone like him, the biggest like Silicon Valley transhumanist tech bro, that he could shut down an entire fucking news organization. But that's money, money, money. And these people are no different. I'm tired of everybody acting like Candace fucking relates to people. Like, at some point, it stops just being your opinion, and it's like you're just ignoring reality. Jones representatives, I wonder if that was Pattis, did not respond to a Fortune request for comment. The biggest hurdle the Macrons face is that they must prove that Owens made her statements about the French First Lady with actual malice. This is very true. Sonia West, First Amendment expert and law professor at the University of Georgia, told Fortune. That means they will have to show that Owens either knew what she was saying was false or acted with reckless disregard as to whether her statements were false. But even if Owens can show that she believed her statements were true when she first made them, the fact that she has continued to repeat them, even after the Macrons pushed back with potential evidence showing their falsity, could weaken her defense. Even though we have broad protections against defamation lawsuits by public figures, the Supreme Court has said that we don't have a First Amendment right to deliberately ignore evidence that contradicts our claims. If Owens were to lose, West explained, she has millions on the line in legal fees alone. In the case of Alex Jones, a Florida judge estimated the legal fees and court costs for the Sandy Hook families to be $320 million. In terms of damages, she said the amount would depend on several factors. Concrete harm the Macrons can prove, such as lost business opportunities or speaking fees, the scope and reach of her statements, and how many times she repeated them. Given that she had no evidence, because there was no evidence, it's easy to see how the plaintiffs will be able to prove actual malice, and then that opens the possibility of getting not just presumed damages, but punitive damages. Larissa Litsky, First Amendment law specialist and professor at the University of Florida Law School, told Fortune. So, the question is, are juries tired of media irresponsibility in a way that might make them want to send a message? It appears, however, Owens isn't scared of the potential consequences. She has asked her fans to donate to her legal fund. Are you fucking kidding me? I didn't. Oh, hell no. She has a legal fund. I'm gonna lose my fucking mind. I'm gonna shave my head on camera. The Mohawk's coming back, baby. Britney's back, bitch. She asked her fans to donate to her legal fund, estimating her court battle will run her $5 million, while she continues to spread claims about the Macrons in the past week alone. So this was December 2nd, this was published. She has accused the Macrons of funding a $1.5 million assassination plot against her to be carried out by France's National Gendarmerie, I have no idea if I'm saying that right, don't care, intervention group, claims she says she has reported to the White House and the FBI. Authorities from the National Gendarmerie Intervention Group told French media these allegations were false, stating that their operations focus on counterterrorism, fighting crime, and hostage recovery. Just because you've been irresponsible in your speech in the past doesn't mean that we have judicial orders saying you can't speak in the future, she explained. After all, Jones continues to be in business despite declaring bankruptcy. Thank you. Told you, fucking faking gay, suggesting that even the most staggering financial penalties can't derail the economics of right-wing media. And the trial itself will likely bring in substantial revenue for Owens from the controversy alone by driving engagement through viewership with her various monetized media channels. Because of this, Caruso believes the conservative online party may even come out on top, even if she loses the lawsuit. Holy shit. Bruh, as the kids say. Bruh. She has a legal fund. Well, of course, I knew she was asking for the security fund because I caught that. Because I saw George Webb talking about her on X, where he's trying to be, Mr. Relatable guy recording from his cell phone, like, oh, we got the Candace watch party. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on with George Webb? Like, this is really weird. And then I went and looked, and it was the end where she was reading comments. Boing, boing, bing, bong. It was the end where she was talking about the security fund. I didn't know that she was trying to pull legal fees. What a hoe. What a hoe. Gendarmerie, is that correct? I don't know. Oh, she's a greedy bitch. Oh, I do want to show you guys the new company that is running Blexit now, because again, we have not seen the newest filings. We don't have the newest filings. At a bare minimum, she was with Blexit, with Turning Point, until 2023, paying herself $250,000. So all that money that we just talked about is completely separate from anything with Blexit. Let's go ahead and see. This is from today. I just did this print screen or PDF, this web page. Blexit Leadership Academy, BLA, kind of reminds me of the SLA. I don't really know why. They are having a leadership conference over in Tempe, Arizona. This makes sense since obviously a lot of their stuff is out of Arizona. So Blexit Leadership Academy, and here we go. The Blexit Foundation right there, okay, going into their YouTube channel. Okay, chapters, education. Right here, Rise. This is the new name that they're going under, is Rise. What does that mean for anybody? I don't know. Support Rise and fuel freedom. Are they trying to separate TPUSA Rise? That is the new name of it. Quite possibly. I have no idea. There is a huge shell game that is going on here, which we are going to be getting into. Not with Turning Point in particular, because quite frankly, I feel like everybody's just looked at Turning Point. I'm assuming, I know that there are a lot of financial channels out there that have talked about this because people have told me. I did watch one video today. Let me see if I can find it. And I don't know who this guy is, but I don't know, his thumbnail made me laugh. So I pulled it up. Wolves and Finance. He did a video today about like Tim Pool lying about him. I guess he's like a CPA and he's local to Turning Point's headquarters. And I just thought that it was interesting where he was showing, hey, maybe this was just a clerical error on their part, a data entry error on their part. But clearly there's some wrong information on there. And the fact that TPUSA has not addressed these things, yeah, I think it's fair to criticize it because it's very easy just to come out and say, hey, we fucked up. And they haven't done that as far as I know. From everything that he showed, it was just they kind of gaslit everybody and said, oh no, we filed the filings. And it's like, well, no. Maybe, I don't know. Why can't you guys just clarify it? I have no idea. She popped up in my view with Kanye, and I have never trusted her. Just a shill like Alex/Bill. No, she's a total shill. This girl is pulling in money And now, like, I get why the, like, not no name, but people like myself who have, like, no subscribers, like, I'm a speck of dust on the internet, right? Like, and I'm so grateful you guys are here. Like, you have no idea. I'm beyond grateful. But in the grand scheme of things, I'm a speck of dust, right? So these other Black conservatives, and some of them have contacted me where they're like, dude, we've been calling out Candace for years. Like, good on you for putting together her family tree. And I've plugged them on X because it's like, yeah, that's shitty. Granted, they didn't figure out her family tree at that time, but it's like there were people calling her out within her own circle, so to speak. She's a total fucking con artist. Like, this is, I want to see those Brexit filings for 2024. I want to see it. I want to see it, Candace. Violate Candace. Let me see it. What do I want to get into next? I appreciate that. I'm just saying, you know, it's a speck of dust on the internet. It's a very small area where I am. Candace and Erica are the same person. They're both total frauds. Correct. This is a cat fight. And that's why I'm like, pull out Erica's weave. Like, let's fucking go, okay? I want this to get hood rat. Like, I'm here for it. If that's the peak, I am so fucking here for it. Rip out her weave. Let's go get the little, like, Walmart pool, and let's fill it up with fucking Jello. Let's go. We'll get the baby oil. I mean, maybe not the baby oil. Sorry, it's a little too soon from Diddy. We'll stick with Jello. All right. Of course, Erica has a weave. Y'all don't remember when my hair was really long? I was growing out my freaking mohawk. I had a weave. That wasn't my natural hair. Ain't nobody hair that thick. That was a fucking weave because I was growing out my mohawk. And here I am talking about shaving it again because Candace is driving me fucking insane and pushing me over the edge. Everyone in Hollywood has a weave. I wasn't in Hollywood, and I had a weave. Because guess what? When you're growing out a mohawk, it's not so cute. Watched a few minutes of the Barry Show last night and felt like a Maury Povich episode. I don't know what it is, man. There's just something about her eyes. They're really dead. I'm sorry. Like, they get really close on her face, and I'm just like, whoo, girl, you're giving off like Black Widow vibes. Her eyes are just very disconnected, and I don't really feel bad saying it because they're both out here grifting, whether he's dead or not, or he's on some, you know, Witsec fuck shack with Epstein and, you know, Tupac. I have no idea. Not my problem. We are not going to focus on Turning Point USA itself because, quite frankly, it's not really my concern. And if you look at Brexit itself, actually, fuck, let me pull this up because we do need to touch on this. Hold on. I just want to look at it. We're not going to read the document. I do want to show, because again, it's the money. I love me a petty headline, you know what I mean? But when you do look at the money, it's there, right? So they're not pulling this stuff out of whole cloth. So the Center for Media and Democracy. There she is. Candace Owens' Brexit operation bankrolled by wealthy white conservatives. January 12th, 2023 by Alex Koch and Walker Bragman. I can't read, and this is why we're not going to read the whole thing because I'll be basically having a stroke by the end of it. But it does mention right here her lawsuit, right? That $37.5K that she got with the help of the NAACP, talking about crazy stuff that she said about Hitler. Is it that crazy? I don't know. You know, Nick Fuentes' fans are real fucking sensitive. I mean, it's the irony for me. So I'm kind of here for the pettiness of it, where it's like, you guys are taking in. Let's go ahead and see. The Family Foundation of Texan Darwin Deason, a white billionaire businessman from Texas, known for being one of the largest shareholders of Xerox, gave $190,000 to Brexit in 2020. He and his son Doug, who is a Brexit Foundation board member and TPUSA advisor. Oh, wouldn't you think that that's a conflict of interest? Have funded a number of conservative causes over the years, including TPUSA and Charles Koch-based operations such as the Americans for Prosperity, Stand Together Foundation, and Texas Public Policy Foundation. A big GOP political donor, the elder Deason once donated $5 million to a super PAC backing former Texas Governor Rick Perry for president and gave the pro-Trump America First Action $1 million in 2018. The Dunn Foundation, belonging to white billionaire William Dunn, gave the Owens Group $500,000 split evenly between 2019 and 2020. How much she paid herself each year. That's fascinating. Dunn has also funded TPUSA, PragerU, anti-Muslim hate group, the David Horowitz Freedom Center, and right-wing donor-advised fund sponsors Donors Trust. Dunn's wife, Rebecca, is a TPUSA advisor. The Laura and Isaac Perlmutter Foundation, the charity of conservative Israeli-American billionaire Isaac Perlmutter, the chairman of Marvel Entertainment, oh, you mean comic book thelemic fan fiction, and his wife donated $250,000 to the Blexit Foundation in 2020. The Perlmutters have also contributed to TPUSA. The founder of investor Thomas W. Smith donated $100,000 to Blexit in 2020. Smith is a major funder of the anti-critical race theory movement and is also known for financing TPUSA, denying climate change, establishing the foundation behind right-wing media site The Federalist, and hosting other conservative causes. Automobile auction billionaire Willis Johnson gave the Blexit Foundation $100,000 in 2020 through his private foundation, the Willis and Reba Johnson Foundation. He is a prolific donor to Christian causes and gave the scandal-plagued NRA's foundation $100,000 in 2020. The Maston Family Foundation, the charity of Maston Money CEO Mark Maston and his wife Melissa, gave $10,000 to Blexit in 2020. That same year, another $20,000 came from the GoGo Foundation, which has donated to TPUSA, the American Legislative Exchange Counselor, ALEC, PragerU, State Policy Network, True the Vote, Freedom Works, and other conservative projects. Bada boom, bada bing. Not going to sit here and read the rest of it. I do think that it is ironic. Again, she wants you to think that she is not elite. I have heard her say this. We, the American people, are not going to accept this elitist bullshit. The fuck you haven't. You've certainly taken their money. You've certainly married into it. Y'all are being psyoped. Some of you guys in the chat, I know you are. And I'm not here to judge you, but I am going to say it. You're being psyoped. You've been taken on a long, emotional ride. And this is the power of propaganda. And it's unfortunate. But I'm not here to help your feelings. I'm here to just keep it 100. And I certainly didn't realize it. I know I'm not the first, and some of this stuff is probably old fucking news. But holy shit, I did not realize what a grifting, lying con artist she is. And yeah, exactly. Don't waste your money on her. Please. Don't waste your money on her. And I'm not saying give your money to me. Keep it for yourself. Nobody owes me anything. I'm not focused on TPUSA, and I'm not focused on the known, I don't even want to say known. Like, we've talked about Turning Point Faith. We've talked about those things. At least we've touched on it, right? And I know that I said we were going to do more on the Seven Mountain Mandate, and maybe I will one day, but like, damn, I need to walk away because this candy thing just was, major side quest. We're going to just look at this brief breakdown because I want to focus on TPAC. I want to focus on their political arm because their political arm is a carry committee, which I did not know until recently. And so we're going to look at that because for those of you that have been around for a while or have watched my content, we have a Barry Bader type situation on a much smaller scale, but it's still a Barry Bader-esque situation in regards to shell games with a very specific donor. And that all is very fascinating to me. So I want to show you guys because I'm like, this is the only donor that won't say what they do for a living. And so obviously I had to go and find them. And once I did, I was like, oh, this person might be running a cult and or involved in possible maybe pornography distribution in the 80s. This is from SourceWatch. No, we're not going to read the whole thing, but it does give like a breakdown of Turning Point USA because again, not my main focus today. So Turning Point USA, we know it's a nonprofit 501c3 in 2022. Turning Point Action created a federal political action committee, Turning Point PAC, and that is my focus. And this website does give a really great breakdown, and it includes links for everything. And again, we just read this, right? Wealthy white conservatives backing, the Dunn Foundation, Deasem Foundation, the Center of the American Experiment, that's a sus name, the Bradley Impact Fund, the GoGo Foundation, Fidelity Investments Charitable Gift Fund, Laura and Isaac Perlmutter Foundation, Maston, National Christian Foundation, Schwab Charitable Fund, Thomas W. Smith Foundation. We've seen all of this. Talking about neo-Nazis, Probably, I don't know, misogyny. Okay, that's great. Don't really care. I thought that this was interesting because they co-launched a Center for Legal Equality, and the CPI chair, Jim DeMint, stated that they were going to drag liberal elites kicking and screaming into court and then into compliance with the law. Bold claim. Bold claim. Right? Because there are people that are like, oh, like Candace is like really just a shit lib. And I'm like, first off, politics are fake and gay. However, this whole argument, it's like this can come back on you guys, right? And again, January 6th, 7 buses, 7 buses. This is what Charlie said. Why? 7 Mountain Mandate? Maybe. Who knows? And they have their own weird database, which I did not know, kind of like her whole social autopsy thing called the Professor's Watch List, which it's like, don't get me wrong, I don't want to hear my professor's political opinions, but also it's like, come on, guys. I think that this is fantastic. The comparison of Hillary Clinton to herpes. Apparently, this occurred in 2018. The director of Spanish engagement, Ana Paulina, appeared on Fox News and made the inappropriate comment. I think it's very appropriate. Now, the dark money for right-wing student government candidates. This is also very interesting to me because here's the thing that we are going to see. And obviously, yeah, ties to the Koch brothers, ties to the CNP. People have been studying the CNP for years. There are people, we've read the documents. He's very well versed, probably the best source for information about the CNP. Why am I going to sit here and waste time going back through that with you guys? Okay, but look at all of this. You know what's really interesting? I'm going to show you guys one. I'm going to try not to click on it though. Where is it? Right here, the Indian River Community Foundation. That goes back to George von Hilsheimer in Green Valley, which is really interesting to me, just in my personal opinion. And, you know, they have a Turning Point endowment. I mean, these people have fuck you money. Let's all just be really honest. However, right here, hello, do you see why I would like to see the tax filings from 2024 for Brexit? As of September of 2024, Candace Owens was the chair of Brexit. Oh, Candace, Candy Hook, can you guys please file your tax filings? Can we see them? Because I think it's pretty fucking audacious that you guys haven't. I don't really know what to tell people. It's not just people want to sit here and there's a conversation to be had about taking money from a foreign nation. How many Saturdays ago was it when we read that article about where Benny Netanyahu was announcing the whole like social media influencer thing, right? There's a conversation to be had, but you can't blame everything on that. It's not just fucking Israel. There are people that have their own financial motives and means. You guys are being psyoped into this, and it's really frustrating. It's like we've swung from one way to the other, where it's like you can't criticize them at all or you're an anti-Semite, to where it's like all people do is point to them and like you're edgy or like you're super based. And it's like I can be anti-Zionist and criticize their government and them not be the only donors that I'm focused on, because then you're ignoring all the corrupt people here that don't have, like double citizenship. I'm sorry. Grow the fuck up. Now, before we get into the funny money, let's talk about the she-devil herself, huh? Let's go ahead and let's look at this article. I cannot speak to its total accuracy because obviously I'm not sitting here and going through all of these filings, and who knows how much Charlie's book is going to pull in, right? But this is from the Hindustan Times, how Erica Kirk made millions as TPUSA CEO after Charlie Kirk's death. Fuck, this was only 3 months ago, guys. The article was published a week ago, but he died in September. Here she is, the little Tatiana for the devil herself. How did she make her money? She received donations in the ballpark of $10 million after his assassination. Tucker Carlson's nicotine pouch brand, ALP, was behind one of the largest funds and raised $5,485,559. But who's counting? As per the Daily Mail, friends of the Kirk family raised $2,572,643, and Liberty Memes Foundation raised $1,500,000 $3,548, and Glenn Beck's 912 project raised $703,280. As CEO, she is expected to draw a similar salary from TPUSA as Charlie did. The Mail reported that the organization had paid Charlie a combined salary of $390,493 for the 12 months to June of 2024. Candace paid herself $250. Plus, it's certainly smaller than Turning Point, right? But it's under the arm of Turning Point. Interesting. While TPUSA is a nonprofit, there are for-profit ventures that have come out of it, like Resolute Media Group, which runs The Charlie Kirk Show and has over 5 million subs. With membership to TPUSA swelling in recent years, another lucrative spinoff has been TPUSA Merch LLC, as per the Mail. It sells Turning Point branded clothing along with its other merchandise. I actually did try to download that article, but it's behind a paywall and I couldn't get it. So this is why we're reading from here. As per TPUSA filings, the Mail reported the charity paid its merchandise subsidiary $289,980 capital contribution and a $130,177 reimbursement for items including hats and t-shirts. Turning Point PAC, or Turning Point PAC, TPUSA's political wing, also took in $112,000 the month after Kirk was shot dead. The organization is expected to generate over $100 million a year. And apparently Charlie, I mean, obviously he's a business guy, right? But he set up, these LLCs for his kids. But in 1 month, the political wing, it's just wild to me, man. I mean, obviously, until I see a body, I don't believe that he's dead. Maybe he's dead. I have no idea. I also think that there's a very high likelihood that he's at some witsec fuck shack with Epstein and Tupac. Okay? Everything is open. Nothing has been proven. This is just how I feel. I'm not here to convince anybody one way or the other. There is a channel, though, that somebody had tagged me in that, and I'm going to go check it out because I haven't seen it, because somebody was posting screenshots of it, that apparently this person lays out a very strong argument with photos that Charlie was electrocuted. And I'm like, whoa, pump the brakes, homie. Pump it. Because it would make sense. I haven't seen the photos, but allegedly this channel, who is a pretty big channel, they have photos of burn marks from the microphone. It would make sense, right? Just saying. It's out there. If anybody wants to go look, if they did electrocute him, then it was a hit. It was definitely a hit. So the shooter argument is fake and gay and has to be thrown out, right? And that's fair. It makes everything else super fucking sus, though, right? It makes it really shady. I'm sorry. It just makes it sus. And yeah, I'm sorry. I agree, Brain. There's no blood, right? There's no blood. So it's like, did his own people do him in? Maybe. You know what I like to say, but I say it about myself, so I'm not trying to speak ill of the dead. If he's dead. Worse things have happened to better people. Okay? Let's go ahead and let's look at what a carry committee means, because I think that this is an important distinction, and I like learning, and I did not know this. TP PAC, Turning Point PAC, is a carry committee, which is a hybrid political action committee that is not affiliated with a candidate and has the ability to operate both as a traditional PAC, contributing funds to a candidate's committee, and as a super PAC, which makes independent expenditures. To do so, carry committees must have a separate bank account for each purpose. The committee can collect unlimited contributions from almost any source for its independent expenditure account, but may not use those funds for its traditional PAC contributions. There's so much fuckery with the money here. If Charlie was calling for an audit, just rumors, it doesn't mean that it had something to do with Israel per se. There could be a lot of people that would be concerned. Now we're going to look at Open Secrets. The last cycle that we have is from 2024. Now, for anybody with a brain, there's obviously very clear money laundering going on here, because we have Turning Point Action donating literally $750,000 on October 22nd. So it's money going in circles here. And then we have them again in November, $400,000. And in September, $300,000. And in August, $300,000. Oh, here we have October. It's in the wrong place. $150,000. July, $100,000. This is what we call money laundering. You're moving it from one of your places to another place. This is what some might call dark money. But this is a lot of money. In 1 month, it was almost $1 million. That's insane. But right here, Mr. David Cates in Glendora, California. So you see right here, it says retired, Pult Capital Partners, teacher, retired, information requested per best efforts. Now, this guy didn't make any small contribution. Both contributions were in October for $20,000. Because here he is again. This is the only person that did not provide their information that I could find right here. And because look at how many there are. 1,026 pages. You think I'm going through every single page? That's not happening. That seemed a little bit odd to me. Seemed a little bit sus. I thought that was weird. And I'm like, well, who is this guy? There's not a lot out here on this guy. Not going to read the whole thing. Okay, we're just going to look. This is one company, 1475 Foothill LLC. This is the incorporation documents. That's all fine. David C. Cates, that's him, right? Right there. David C. Cates, manager, 2011. 2013, here he is again. We're moving and grooving through this. I'm not sitting here reading this entire fucking thing. We got a lot to get through. Right here, LLC, dissolution. Okay, David C. Cates, manager. That's one. 5091 G Street, LLC, 2006. Now, you're going to see this Stephen L. Fingal, Esquire. This is the person that is filing these documents generally from 2023, LLC. Right here, David C. Cates. What is it? Real estate investment. Bada boom, bada bing. Signature from 2023. 2025. Same company. Who's the agent now? David C. Cates. Right there. 6333 Corsair LLC. The LLC is to dissolve on December 31st, 2047. There's our boy Steve. Here we go. 2023. David C. Cates. Manager. Look, he's also the agent. Real estate holdings. Again, there's his signature from July of this year. David C. Cates, he's still the agent and he's the manager. There we go. This one's weird. There's a lawsuit tied to it. Articles of Incorporation, ABC Ambulance Service Incorporated, 2005. So we have a different name here that we're filing this in. A lot of money looks like it's going into this though, right? Keep going. There we go. Incorporator. Here we go. 2010. Amended and restated Articles of Incorporation. The name of the corporation, ABC Ambulance Service Incorporated. Okay, let's continue. President and secretary at that time in 2009, someone else. Right here, though, we have 2012, ABC Ambulance Service Incorporated. David C. Cates. He is the CEO, the secretary, and the chief financial officer. And he is also the director, and so is Lynn Cates. And then there's our boy Steve. Steve's back. And in 2013, ABC Ambulance Service Incorporated changes its name to Kern Emergency Medical Transportation Corporation. This is what I believe you will find the title of the lawsuit under is Kern. And then here we have from 2017, Statement of Information. No changes. Look at these people just follow all their paperwork all willy-nilly. There's nothing even there, except for right here that he's the CEO in 2017. And then dissolution, 2019. There he is, Lynn and David. See how it's starting to get a little bit weirder? Calcol Investments, LLC, 2006. Agent, John Gennell. I have no idea. Let's continue. Right here, 2019. LLC termination, certificate of cancellation. Electronic signature, David C. Cates. Oh, I had this out of order. Sorry. 2006. Calcol Investments, David Cates. Larry Engelken. These are managers, appointed or elected. No clue. Doesn't specify. Business investment. Okay, 2018, right here. David C. Cates, manager. What's a business investment? What are these real estate holdings? I don't even want to sit here and bring up all this crap. And you know what? I'm not going to because there's literally so many to go through. Let's go through the interesting ones. In particular, 1992, Homeward Bound Ministries, Inc. Get what I'm thinking, Barry Bader? This corporation is a religious corporation and is not organized for the private gain of any person. It is organized under the Nonprofit Religious Corporation Law exclusively for religious purposes. The initial agent, Ronald S. Jurgensen, that's fine, don't really care, and can't be involved in politics. Well, isn't that fascinating? Wonder if those laws have changed. Probably. We're not here to get into tax law. Let's keep going. So there's the incorporator, Jerry D. Mackey. 2016. Secretary, Madeline M. Cates. Chief Financial Officer, David C. Cates. What do they do? No idea. But there he is as the secretary and the CFO in 2018. Now, when you look them up, it says that they help people. I have no idea if they do because I can't find any proof of it. Now, this was the one that sent me on the journey. But this all to me is washing money. And this is just, I'm showing you guys just a shady person. So let's look at this really quick because I was able to find one way back, even though it didn't have all the links, which is really frustrating. Articles of incorporation, Glendora Learning Center Incorporated, 2008. Here we go. Oh, look, there's our boy Steve. Steve is back, baby. Steve is back. 2008. Now, there we go. David C. Cates, CEO. Secretary, Lynn. CFO, Joseph A. Galeris. And right here, 2014, another statement of information where they literally provide nothing. David Cates still the CEO, and dissolution. Right there. David Cates, 2015, and Joseph A. Galeris. What does this school do? Don't know. Because what I can tell you is that what they're saying they do doesn't track with the money. And again, this is someone that would not provide what they do for a living to Turning Point's PAC. So I pulled this from the way back. This is their website. So literally, do you see this? Homework lab, college guidance, subject tutoring, SAT, ACT prep, and Oxbridge. Our promise. At the Glendora Learning Center, we recognize that your student is a unique individual who has specific academic goals and challenges. Whether they need to raise a C to a B, organize their schoolwork, and develop better study skills, maintain a strong GPA through AP classes, or navigate the college admissions process, we promise to provide the support that your student and your family needs. We promise to provide quality instructors who are dedicated to providing increasing academic success and confidence for your student. We will always strive to provide ways in which we can serve your whole family in creating a positive and enriching academic experience for your student. Here's college guidebook, brochure, programs, and prices. None of these links work. But apparently the website was designed by Insane Graphics. Wish that this stuff worked. Now, you may be wondering how much a tutoring business is going to pull in. Such as that. So this is from Data Knives, Glendora Learning Center, Childcare and Consumer Services. This address matches everything that we just read, and that was their phone number, allegedly. 228,000 with 9 employees. Founded in 2008. Primary industries, childcare and consumer services. This is all that you can find. Who's pulling in that much money doing tutoring? I don't buy that. I mean, what are they getting in return? Okay, washing money, but it has to come back in a way. When you put it in for turning PAC, it's lobbying without lobbying. This is literal dark money going into politics. Because if you are washing money through your charity or your nonprofit into TP PAC, then you're endorsing these people who are going to be placed in, who are going to pass laws that you want. And as the old saying goes, blackmail makes the world go round, right? So I'm sure that there's a lot of uncomfortable backdoor conversations that are had. So there's a lot to be gained. You're not going to see it physically. It's not going to be a ledger per se. It's just they're thinking long term, who do we want in office? And that's why I'm of the opinion that there is going to be some sort of weird coup d'etat against the Don to put in JD Vance, because I think that the plan has always been to put in JD Vance. And people say the Don's on their side, and it's yeah, well, he's always been Peter Thiel's pony boy. They're going to put in JD Vance. That's what's going to happen. That's my opinion. That's my anointed theory. Let's go ahead and let's look at another very shady business of this guy. And again, this is just alleged. I have this really weird nonprofit. I can't figure out what they're doing. I have this weird school that they're pulling in, I don't know, 228 grand. Is that a year? Or is that over the lifetime of the institution? I don't fucking know. And then we have stuff like this, and you'll see the names of some of these other companies. There's no explanation of what any of these businesses do. That school was probably the closest that I could get. Video delivery service, but look at that date, 1987. Kill Bill sirens. Ah. So this guy, Bradley S. Garberich, he's incorporated on a foreign company in Florida. He's had other businesses with our boy Cates here. So this is why I think that this is kind of shady. Because here in 1989, David C. Cates comes in and they change the name from video delivery service to special delivery service. Well, what the fuck are you guys delivering? What are you delivering? I don't know. And they did not dissolve until 2008. No description right here. See? Nothing. Was it porn? Can't prove it one way or the other, but it's certainly a possibility. I'm just going to show you guys the folder itself. That way you can see that I have pulled everything else that is on there for this guy. 1475, 5091, 6333, ABC Ambulance Service, Cowcoal, Cates Real Estate Holdings, Cates Garb, Desert Crest, Enfield Garand, Glendora Learning Center, Homeward Bound Ministries, Joyful Beginnings, Naptech, Special Parcel Express Incorporated, Underground Milk Products, Unruh Stafford LLC, Video Delivery Services, Win for Tomorrow, and then those are the two waybacks I just showed you for Glendora. Little bit Barry Bader-esque, right? Little bit sus, little bit odd. I just think the guy's weird. He donated a lot of money, and I think he's weird. Because that thing is ranked by the dollar amount of the donations. So yeah, I think it's weird that one of the highest donors, I think it's weird that he's not identifying who he is. That's all I'm saying. That's not a good find. I mean, thank you. It's not a good find. It's just, whatever. I was looking, I'm like, because again, it's like everybody wants to make this out to be some weird conspiracy with Israel. And it's like, yeah, I get it. There's a conversation to be had, but also there's plenty of fucking corrupt people here that are not Israeli. Are they Zionists? Maybe. Who knows? A lot of people are. A lot of people are, and they don't even know it. I'm just saying. Sorry. Like, I come from the South. There are a lot of people that are like, they don't know that they're Zionists until you sit down and have a conversation with them. And they're like, oh, it's not so black and white. People want to make everything black and white, and it's just not. And I know that that's really hard for people to accept because people want things to be black and white, right? That would make life a lot easier for everybody, but it's just not the case. I don't know what to tell people. I'm not here. I feel like the whole Israel thing is just become a grift now. It's like the majority of normal people out here would tend to lean as a Zionist and they not even identify as such because they lack the historical knowledge or context. And this isn't me calling somebody stupid. I'm just saying it's the propaganda. And this is why I hate when people who care about each other fight over this kind of stuff because it's so fucking dumb. Don't lose your family over politics. It's not worth it. When it gets into your household or in between you and your loved ones, you've lost the plot and they've won. And it's in a lot of Christian churches. Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. Me coming from the South, there's a lot of Christians who they don't know that they're Zionists because this is what they're taught. And this is why, I'm not going to, I don't think it's my place to have doctrinal debate. That's just my belief. However, I think the doctrinal debate is healthy in moderation, but I don't think that it's the end all be all as long as there's an agreement that, we agree on the basics, right? And I think it's healthy to start implementing the basics of Zionism is a thing that has been weaponized via propaganda for a very, very long time. It's old. It's very old. I'm not telling you guys anything new. And Untermeyer did fund the Scofield Bible. It bums me out when people fight about this kind of stuff because these people don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a fuck about me. We are the CO2 that they want to reduce, right? That's us. People think that they're excluded and they're not. And I say that as a white female with greenish blue eyes, who's naturally blonde. So I might fit into a certain sort of category, right? They want to get rid of all of us. They want to keep enough people who can work for them. That's all I'm saying. So it's like, yeah, do I think that climate change is kind of fake and gay? I mean, a little bit, because these people run around like in their own private jets. And then they want to sit there and scold us. And they want to pass laws and taxes and things like this and credits for, carbon reduction, emission, what the fuck ever. And it's like, fuck you. Get rid of your 5 jets. How about that? And get rid of all your fancy cars. And get out of the Congo and Ukraine, where you guys are taking all of these rich minerals and definitely not trafficking people. How about that? You do that, and maybe people would be on board with like climate initiatives. That's all I'm saying. They don't care about you. They want to reduce you. You are the carbon that they want to reduce. Now, this guy, because did I go through the whole board? Hell no. But this guy's really interesting. So, Scott Shermer, advisory council member from TPUSA. This is not from the archive. This is current from a couple days ago. So, as far as I know, he's still on the board. So he is a Chicago native, began his real estate career in the 60s, and has since built a distinguished record in acquiring, syndicating, financing, developing, and managing properties across Arizona, California, Oklahoma, Oregon, Utah, and Idaho. He earned a BA in business administration and a master's degree in finance from Arizona State University, where he also played baseball and was an active member of Sigma Chi fraternity, later receiving the fraternity's National Significant Sig Award. Kill Bill sirens, whoop, whoop. As a managing member of M3 Companies, Scott oversees the firm's investment capital, cultivating and maintaining relationships with high net worth individuals, pension funds, and private investment groups. His leadership is marked by strategic vision, financial expertise, and a commitment to long-term value creation. Beyond his business endeavors, Scott is deeply dedicated to philanthropy. He serves on the National Board of Child Help, an organization committed to preventing and treating child abuse. He is also a foundation board member of Honor Health, where he chairs the real estate committee. Scott proudly directs the Shermer Family Foundation, which supports Christian and Jewish initiatives, as well as programs addressing human and children's needs. In addition, he actively partners with JBM Ministries, Bain Trust, and the Tim Tebow Foundation in efforts to eradicate human trafficking. Grant makers. This is from 2024. Shermer Family Foundation Incorporated in Scottsdale. Assets $458,000. Who's the president? Scott. Where'd you send your money, Scott? Oh, you sent $25,000 to Turning Point. This is money laundering. This is what I'm talking about. You're also on the board of Child Help, and you're sending them. Now, 25 is significantly different than 5. But this is still money laundering. I don't like this kind of shit. When I see this kind of stuff, especially when it's with kids, I'm like, come on now. This is the dark arts. Let's go ahead and let's look at what Child Help is, because it's extremely sus. Total revenue, 48 mil. I'm just giving round numbers here, guys. Total expenses, 45 mil. Net assets, 7 mil. Child Help exists to meet the physical, emotional, educational, and spiritual needs of abused, neglected, and at-risk children. We focus our efforts on advocacy, prevention, treatment, and community outreach. So they have the Merv Griffin Village in Beaumont, California, and the Alice C. Tyler Village in Lignum, Virginia. I'm not going to read all of this. However, they have foster family and adoption agencies in California and Tennessee, and group homes in California. They provided services to more than 250 children and made approximately 120 placements for the fiscal year 2020. And they also certified over 30 new homes for foster care last year. And when we look here, wow, I mean, look at Yvonne Feddersen, the president, making almost $500,000 for a charity that helps kids that allegedly is setting up foster care. Do you see why I'm not buying it? Now, see, this thing lies, because he is still on the board. It says that he left in June of 20. Wrong, but there he is. Okay, so we have this guy who is on the advisory council of Turning Point. Child Help celebrates 65 years with a Scottsdale gala. This is from January of 2024. Carol and Jim Hebetz are chairing the event alongside co-chairs Drew Hammer and Scott Shermer. Still on the board. The other website was wrong. Nonprofit dedicated to eliminating child abuse. We're going to skip through this. It was military leaders who helped Child Help save our first 11 orphans in Japan, rescue children through Operation Baby Lift, and spread the message of prevention through Child Help Speak Up, Be Safe, said Child Help co-founder and president Yvonne Feddersen, who, as we just saw, was being paid almost $500,000. Some of you may not know what Operation Baby Lift is. You're about to find out. So here is an article from the Daily News. April 5th, 1975, Viet orphan jet crashes, 178 die. Airlift to U.S. will continue. What we did to Vietnam, I'm sorry. This just is insult to injury. But for those who knew or did not know, it was Hugh Hefner's plane that was commissioned. And this is from Facebook, March 8th of this year. Something you may not know. Actor Yul Brynner and his wife adopted 2 Vietnamese orphans. The second child was a survivor of the C-5 Baby Lift crash. That's the crash that was in the Daily News article that we just posted. Yul Brynner, the one that if you've been with me on my journey in my Manson series, the Yul Brynner that's in some of the porn, allegedly, supposedly, that was stolen out of the Polanski Cielo Drive loft. And Hugh Hefner, the dog fucker, whose son also has sex with dogs. And Hugh gets, drugs girls to have sex with dogs. That guy who's friends with pedophile Roman Polanski. Do you see what I mean? Come the fuck on. The kid does look terrifying. So this is from Hey Stanford, Joe Romano, a local hero behind a global rescue. I'm not going to sit here and read this entire thing, but here's some nice old photos because, I love old pictures. Love that fur jacket. So talking about this operation, right? And the C-5A Galaxy, 138 lives were lost. I think it's interesting, obviously, that the individuals who coordinated this effort were all from Connecticut. We have Bob McCauley, Connie Bull, and Joe Romano, right? But right here, the guy who founded AmeriCares would charter a commercial Pan Am flight to evacuate the surviving children. Well, we know that Pan Am was CIA operated at that time. And Bull ended up setting up the Friends of Children Foundation in the late 60s and served on its board with Romano. So that's all good and well. There's a nice photo. Joseph Romano on the left, William Bull on the right. Nothing sus going on here. Not kidnapping kids. But right here, hearing of the situation and knowing the mission needed one last leg to reach New York, actor Yul Brynner and Bull's path aligned. Brynner, who had recently adopted a Vietnamese child himself, felt tied to the cause and quickly used his influence to secure a plane in California. Brynner contacted family friend Hugh Hefner to ask for help. Do we really think that that's philanthropic? Maybe you do. I don't, because a lot of these people are pedophiles. Now, this article, it was going to make me pay for it, but it's just to show that this Operation Baby Lift it still affects people today. It's still affecting these younger generations. And it's unfortunate that I couldn't get this whole thing to download. But see, Pan Am, okay. Out of the fog. So this is from April of this year. Operation Baby Lift was an earnest attempt to save children during the fall of Saigon. Decades later, a generation of adoptees wrestles with the aftermath. 20,000 children. A decade of death coupled with a thriving sex trade near U.S. military bases put 20,000 children in more than 100 orphanages through South Vietnam. Says the popular narrative of Vietnamese adoption began like this. These poor fucking kids, man. I hate this shit. And ended like this. Yeah. And it says to subscribe. It's very tragic because I would love to read all of that. It's like adding insult to injury with what we did in Vietnam, right? And so do I think it's weird that there's a guy on the board of Turning Point who's very clearly using his family foundation to launder money to the Turning Point PAC and also this child abuse nonprofit? Yeah, I think that it's weird. That's just one person. I haven't even looked through the whole board because I don't have time. Hopefully someone takes the time to go through and dissect the entire board. Because if that's just a random name that I pick and you get that where it's just very obvious money laundering on its face, Turning Point should be in trouble. They should be audited, but so should these other nonprofits. And again, does that have, I don't see anything that has to do with like child help and like Zionism. I don't know. Maybe it does. I have no clue. But you see how that's almost like a straw man argument to me now? Because it's starting to become a straw man argument where it's like, please just shut the fuck up about Israel. I'm over it. It's getting old very fast. That's all I'm saying. Now, Kirk's dad was involved in a RICO, and he got pulled off of the RICO. I haven't really found much. I think it's more interesting that his dad was taken off of a RICO case than him helping Trump, quite frankly. Because I'm like, damn, dog, how did you get pulled off of a RICO case, right? I don't really care about that much. There is a Scientologist that is on the board, only one that I've found. Operation GCD sent it to me. I want to show you guys this one company that Erica's mom is on the board of, because I just think it's weird, and then I want to get into Violate, because I think that the stuff with Violate is more important. Because I didn't, again, whatever. I'm not sitting here asking for fucking flowers or a parade. I just think it's weird that Candace has been on this parade for how long now? And this would have been such an easy low blow to Turning Point to point out Violate. And she didn't. And that's really odd to me. And it makes me think it's just bolstered my opinion in the long run, that it's like, you're not really calling out anything, if I'm being honest. My allergies drive me nuts. And I don't sleep. This is why people think that, she just, uses True Detective memes. And it's like, no, I actually don't fucking sleep. And I have really bad allergies. But I don't smoke cigarettes. I just use a vape. Also not out here looking for dead hookers. But I love me some Matthew McConaughey. I want to show you guys this company, because this company, I guess, has had some controversy. So again, not pretending to break news. This is Superfeed Technologies, character of business, development of a mobile news application entity type, foreign for-profit business. I think that's kind of odd. Maybe it's not. I don't really know. Known place of business, Arizona. Principal office, care of Paracorp in Delaware. Notice how everything's in Delaware? That's a dark conversation if people want to have it. And guess what? I'm not doing it. However, director Lori Fransby, right there, boom. There's her mom. There's her mom. And then Travis Nukamet is on the board of Turning Point USA, which is odd. Tyler Bauer, I think he was the former COO. Okay. And then we have Wayne Nukamet. So there's a lot of cross-pollination there. The Nukamets are oil family, oil bigwigs from Texas. When people ask what is the benefit per se, that's a good example of a benefit of being on that board, is not only do you have these private ventures that can benefit you through your connections, but you can also help funnel money in through lobbying. It's an opinion piece. I'm not agreeing with it one way or the other, just to show that this company is somewhat already mired in a little bit of controversy. Jeff DeWitt couldn't buy Kari Lake except with a 6-figure consulting fee. This is by Lori Roberts, Arizona Republic, January 30th, 2024. So it says, it seems the politician now raising money off her claim that she can't be bought was paid 6 figures to work as a consultant for a technology company while she was running full-time for governor, specifically for a company that for most of that time was run by now ex-state GOP chairman Jeff DeWitt, the chump she secretly recorded, then outed 10 months later for asking her what it would take to keep her out of the Senate race. Before DeWitt was, quote, corrupt, unquote, it seems he was Lake's boss as president and CEO of Superfeed Technologies, according to State Corporation Commission records. Tyler Bauer of Turning Point Action, and lest we forget, one of Arizona's fake electors, is listed as the chairman of the board of the company, which developed a get-out-of-the-vote app used by Republicans. I just think that this is really fascinating, but Kari Lake was paid $101,507 to do consulting work for Superfeed Technologies from April of 21 until March of 23. And again, you guys just saw that for 2025. Erica's mom is on that board. So that's a little bit sus. A little bit shady. Air America was originally Richard Secord, who pops up later with Oliver North. If you link it to this, then narcotics trafficking and child trafficking are simply two parts of one ongoing operation. Mic drop, Nixon, Bogang. I agree. I was actually talking to somebody about Oliver North last night because they had never heard the term continuity of government. And people forget that, do you guys remember the two black copters that crashed in Virginia? It wasn't that long ago. It was since the Don got elected, and they were on TV saying that it was a continuity of government exercise. And so I was just telling this person, I was like, I've just assumed that we've been under like the doom plan the whole time. I don't tell people because I'm not trying to freak people out. And like, can I prove it? Like, people say that that's a crazy conspiracy theory. And it's like, they said it on TV. They said continuity of government exercise on TV for 2 fucking black copter crashes. Not that far from Langley, I might add. I was sitting there and I was like, did I just have a stroke? Thank you, Circa 67. You remember, and you're in Canada. There we go. We got our Canadians chiming in. They literally said it. Thank you, Nixon Bocaine. I'm not fucking crazy. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you guys for not gaslighting me. I appreciate it very much. Thank you. Thank you for not gaslighting me. Because, yeah. Thank you. That's been almost the entire time since the Don got inaugurated. I've just assumed that we've been under COG orders the entire time. Why would you assume anything else? That's why people getting worked up about this ICE stuff. I'm like, okay, why? Do I think it's really shady, like the Halloween mask thing that they were pulling on Halloween? Yeah, that's horrifying. Like, I'm going to shoot you if you show up at my door wearing a Chucky mask, trying to kidnap me and throw me into a van. Yeah, I'm going to protect myself. However, mass deportations is part of the doomsday plan. So I don't understand why anybody is surprised. Nobody should be surprised about anything that is going on at all if we are under COG doomsday planning. Just saying. And that doesn't make me a black pillar or a doom pillar. I'm not trying to fear monger. It's just they said it on TV and nobody batted an eye. That should tell you something. And it's just like, well, okay. Is that why they changed it to the Department of War? Because they're just going to go full stop? It's okay. Life goes on. There's no need to live in fear. The government's going to do what the government's going to do. I'm not going to sit here and stress out about it, and I do not think that you should either. It was during the Trump assassination hearings. That's when it was. I was trying to remember, because there was so much going on at that time. Do you see what I mean about how they like traumatize and re-traumatize you constantly, like with all of this stuff? It's just never ending. We have absolutely been under a state of war since 9/11. This is absolutely correct. However, them saying that on TV, that it was active, it's like, guys, they just said it on TV. Anybody under the disillusion that anything has changed, it's like, come on. Don't be so gullible. Yes, suspension of the provisions of the Constitution. That is how they phrased it in the Iran-Contra hearings. And they did move it to a closed session. That is correct. That was the conversation I was having. I was like, that's the real tea from Iran-Contra that a lot of people don't know about, if I'm being honest. And I'm not judging anybody for not knowing about it, because this person that I was talking to is very intelligent and they didn't know about it. But that was like, I mean, don't get me wrong, destroying the African-American community with crack cocaine, yeah, that's a fucking problem. Ronald Reagan was a fucking crack dealer, okay? However, the continuity of government thing is extremely dark. And whether people want to admit it or not, you know, Obama changed the law where they could weaponize propaganda against us, right? Because everything is better in hindsight for people. Why? I have no fucking idea. What do I know? What do I know? Let's go ahead and let's get into Mr. Mind War himself, since we're talking about the continuity of government. We're having a good time. Like I said, if they're going to do it, it is what it is. I don't live in fear. I don't react to the news. And I don't tell people what to think or believe, but I encourage you guys, especially here, because we're much more laid back. I encourage you guys to stop reacting to the news, because it's that Bart Simpson meme, fell for it again. Like, stop falling for it. They're doing their job, and they're doing it on YouTube now. You guys read that Forbes article yourself. Financially, they're in competition with mainstream media and beating them, on track for beating them. If you're going to listen or watch, do it with the filter on of it's propaganda. And this is what I tell people. This is a debate that, I've had. Obviously, my mom is gone, but I've had with my parents, over the past couple years, is at least in communist or socialist countries, right? At least they know that their propaganda is government propaganda. We live under the disillusion that we are getting real information. That's how good our propaganda is that people think that it's real and that it's not government propaganda. When we are the exact fucking same. Whether people want to admit it or not, we are the exact same when it comes to propaganda. If you're going to watch as an educated viewer, or listen as an educated listener, and go, what are they trying to sell me on? I listen to it because I want to know what the fuck is going on. Because whatever they're telling you, it's usually the opposite or something much, much worse. So it doesn't hurt to pay attention, but I automatically assume that they're lying to me. Every time I put it on, I'm like, they're lying to me. Right now, they're lying to me. What are they trying to tell me, or what are they trying to hide? I think that this is the best way to protect your mind and your heart, because it's very easy to get invested, right? It's propaganda. At least in China and Russia, they're honest with you, okay? Our government lies to us. So this is from TPUSA team, Paul Violate, advisory council member. Are we going to read his entire profile? Absolutely not. However, graduate of the Infantry School, Ranger and Airborne Schools, Jumpmaster School, the Command and General Staff School, the Industrial College of the Armed Forces, and the Army War College. His combat service in Vietnam included positions as Infantry Company Commander, Intelligence Officer, Operations Officer, Military Advisor, and Aide-de-camp. He has over 15 years experience in special operations, psychological, and civil military operations. He is also a military analyst on TV and radio for over 10 years, a guest lecturer on national security, international political, economic issues, strategic planning matters, and the global war against radical Islam and other threats to America. He and Thomas McTierney authored the book Endgame, Blueprint for Victory for Winning the War on Terror, War Footing, and Baghdad Ablaze. Isn't it fascinating that they excluded Mind War? He is a member and founder of the Iran Policy Committee, chairman of Stand Up America, and the senior military analyst for Fox News from 2000 to 2007. He conducts an average of 4 to 6 national radio show interviews per week and is well known for his published articles on a multitude of subjects and issues. That's Mr. Mind War himself. Gotta wonder why TPUSA would admit what is arguably one of his more popular books. A lot of this is the same. He was also the military committee chairman for the Center for Security Policy in Washington, D.C., and they include first president of the National Psychological Operations Association and author or co-author From PSYOP to Mind War, The Psychology of Victory. He has stated that Mind War states a whole truth that, if does not now exist, will be forced into existence by the will of the United States. Violate has described Mind War as using electronic media, television, and radio in the deliberate, aggressive convincing of all participants in a war that we will win that war. Do you think that that does not include fucking YouTube? Grow up. We discussed this Pentagon Military Analyst Program. So again, propagandizing the American public. Right? That's what they're doing here. Quotes on the Iraq War, speaking on January 2nd, 2003 on Fox. These people that have just been there, that have defected within the last 6 months, the psychological operations program that is going on now with Command Solo, the broadcasting, the leaflets, the feedback I got today is very positive so far. So you're going to have a number of the Special Security Organization, 8 to 10,000, however many is there, the Special Republican Guard. He's got some dedicated people that are they're going to guard him. But the information just over the last 10 years, and as recently as today, the War of Liberation will work. This is one of the architects of this fucking war via propaganda. He's also affiliated with the Red Pill University. And this National Psychological Operations Association couldn't really find anything on it, but he does cite it in multiple places when he's giving his resume that he's a part of that. Because obviously I was a kid at that time, so I didn't understand, right? I was pretty young. when all that stuff went down. However, you have to get the American public to co-sign on certain things. But this is why it's important to understand mind war. We're in the shits right now. I want to read this article first because I think that this woman's blog is absolutely fascinating. And her resume does check out and whatever. I don't know if people know who she is, but we're going to find out. News with Views, where reality shatters illusion, by attorney Constance Cumby. Did Major General Paul E. Vallely help facilitate military Satanism? Part 2 of 4. This is from 2015. The last segment I wrote received an unprecedented News with Views publisher's disclaimer. The opinions expressed were solely those of the author. Obviously, to my eye, the publisher had been put under extraordinary pressures. That is not surprising, seeing that I had tackled a characterized darling of the Tea Party who had been a commander in military PSYOP operations. Those operations were designed to convince the enemies, foreign and domestic, they had already lost and all resistance was futile. I learned of intense pressures having been put on my publisher, and that the disclaimer had been necessary for their protection. For those who missed my last segment, my article had an unexpected inspiration. I was invited by some very nice Michigan people to become part of the board of directors of the Women Defending America. I was told that the organization had been proposed by 3 generals. The women were to be organized in uniform battalions. When I half-jokingly told my inviting person that you realize that you will be accused of forming a fascist brigade, she told me that one of the generals proposing the operation told her that the only reason America had not been taken over yet was because too many of her citizens were armed. Towards the end of our otherwise congenial meeting, I casually asked her for the names of the 3 generals. McKierney, Vallely, and Boykin was the reply. It was a nearly mid-June Friday night. I do a regular 2-hour internet radio broadcast on Saturday mornings. I often sit at my computer late on Friday nights preparing for them. At about 11:30 p.m., I recalled my conversation and thought that maybe I'd better check the generals out while I still recalled their names. Fully expecting to find stars, bars, purple hearts, and military commendations only, I first Googled McKierney. Up popped several people also searched for pictures. One was Paul Vallely. I recalled that that was the name she mentioned as the one who had told her why America had not been taken over yet. I clicked that link and was astounded to come up with references on the first page of hits on his name, only to his association with satanic leader Michael A. Aquino. Dumbfounded, I then Googled the terms Aquino and Valley and came up with many hits. I made an improvident 11:45 call to the lady who graciously invited me, in good faith, to be part of the board for WDA. I left a message that I was disturbed to find links to Satanism in connection with one of the generals. I could not afford to have my name associated with that, and hopefully she would not either. Chagrined that I nearly stepped into this, I made an immediate blog posting to my own site, My Perspective, with the suggestive title of Watch Where You Walk. I nearly stepped into this one. I did a cut and paste of the Googled hits as illustrations of the hidden dangers I had nearly failed to miss. I then made a search of my personally archived computer files and again was shocked to see that I had identified Paul Vallely in Volume 1, Number 2, June 1986 newsletter as Michael Aquino's ongoing patron and protector in the military. I had received that information from impeccable sources, including a former lady friend of Lieutenant Colonel Michael Aquino, former minister in Anton Szandor LaVey's Church of Satan, and founder of the equally, if not more satanic, Temple of Set. Not reaching the lady who invited me, a woman who was heavily emotionally and financially invested into what she thought was good and right for our country, I then tried reaching out to others. I perused the materials I had been given at that meeting for WDA and located another officer, a fine Christian lady. I reached her with the information together with a letter I was sending to the inviter. She thanked me, but then called me back saying she had spoken to a prayer partner and instead wanted me to draft a new bylaw for that organization saying they did not support Satanism in any way. My research then dismayingly told me that General Vallely had been very busy and very successful even with many of my longtime friends and supporters in the struggle against the New Age movement. I reached as many of those people as I could. Some seriously listened, some so far are awaiting more evidence. This was not the first time General Vallely had encountered references to the Aquino Association. When Colonel Riley proposed a 10 million man march on Washington using an Arab Spring, Operation America Spring model of bringing down a government, reportedly that plan had been endorsed by General Vallely. Many had come forward with the satanic charges then. Through his website, General Vallely had made veiled threats that they needn't bother purging their websites of the ridiculous allegations. He already had them archived, and they would hear from his lawyers. He told them that attempts to defame a reputation were actionable slander and libel. He forgot to tell them that in the law, at least in the USA, truth is an absolute defense. He was practicing the psyop art of convincing his opposition that all resistance is futile to the ultimate degree. General Vallely, per the Michigan WDA leader, sent the following via Scott Winchell, his editor, to their organization. They forwarded the same to me via email. Back in the early 80s, Vallely was commander of the 7th Psychological Group, a colonel at that time. Colonel Paul Vallely was assigned by Army senior officers to study what the Soviets were doing about mind control, or what we now refer to as psychological operations. The Army and Colonel Vallely assigned Major Michael Aquino to prepare a draft and analysis for a final paper on the subject. Conspiracy theorists post scurrilous and defamatory allegations on the internet. Shortly thereafter, it was learned that Major Aquino was associated with the Temple of Set, based and registered in California, founded in 1975. The church was a Satanist sect and was actively recruiting members in the Army, and Army headquarters was none too pleased. An Army general then assigned Colonel Vallely to investigate the case. This is what they're saying. This is what they emailed this woman. Are you fucking kidding me? And report the findings to the Department of the Army in Washington. Colonel Vallely was the one who conducted the investigation and determined the facts. Aquino was indeed a Satanist in the Temple of Set and was the second, or deputy to Anton LaVey, then head of the Temple of Set, which was a sect of the Church of Satan. He was closely associated with the movie Rosemary's Baby from 1968. There was even a study on staring at goats, which was made into a movie in 2004. Colonel Vallely reported his findings, but Army lawyers could do nothing, as the church was classified as a religion under the First Amendment, freedom of religion. Aquino and other officers were reassigned and stayed in the Army for some time after. Vallely is a devout Catholic, and at no time was he ever involved with the Satanists of the Temple of Set or anything other than Catholicism. Aquino himself has said that Vallely and he were not working to establish any CIA or Nazi-derived program. That is, in his words, assorted cranks tried to make a public issue out of this paper just because of its catchy title. That paper had no connection to MKUltra, nor Paperclip, nor any crazy Nazi experiments. As you can see, it is only because of these studies that were performed, and there were a great many performed in other areas, do crackpots like Names Withheld try to force some conspiracy theory that we are all under mind control operations. This is the most ridiculous thing that I've ever read, and this is why I included it. I responded to this material in my News with Views article. I spent a little money doing my research. I ordered both the Kindle and the oversized book, Extreme Prejudice. General Vallely claimed that neither he nor the Army knew about Aquino's Satanism until after he and Aquino did the joint paper commissioned by Vallely in 1980. That's a fucking lie, and she does prove it. General Vallely, I'm informed, further told the group here the following. He investigated on behalf of the Army to see if Michael Aquino was a Satanist. I didn't know that Vallely said this, so this is all news to me. As shown in the above video clip of the Oprah Winfrey Show of February 1988, Michael Aquino plainly says that the Army knew of his satanic religion from his original commissioning in 1968. This was a full 12 years before the Aquino-Vallely project in 1980, and I know I'm probably saying Aquino wrong, and I don't fucking care. As might be expected, some of the leadership of the Michigan group is most unhappy with me. Some thanked me and resigned their WDA post rather than work further with General Vallely. I understand the lady who invited me to join the board protested that even if true, the information published in my newsletter was nearly 30 years old. That is true. What is not old, however, is the obvious lie told by General Vallely that he was charged with investigating Michael Aquino after their joint operations. Clearly he and others in the military, particularly their brand of military intelligence, knew of Aquino's open Satanism. Clearly, Vallely knew of Aquino's Wavelsburg working in 1983, 3 years before I wrote my newsletter, with information from credible sources that Brigadier General Paul Vallely was Michael Aquino's protector. While Michael Aquino has tried hard to protect Vallely by saying that only the internet put their mind war professional relationship at issue, Aquino's own books, some even available for free on the internet, tell plenty about New Age and deeper satanic influences in the military. Unfortunately, the influences in the military are broader and deeper. Aquino's own books plainly reveal the deep cross-pollination. Aquino exemplifies the left-hand path of Satanism. Other facets of the New Age are sometimes called by adherents the right-hand path. All those paths converge to the same ultimate destination. And this is my fucking argument. You think that you're smarter? No, you're not smarter. Sorry, it's all the same thing. In addition to watch where you walk, to avoid stepping into something unpleasant, may I respectfully suggest you don't want to go there. Hopefully that was news to somebody else, because I think that that is fascinating. Okay, so of course Echo Cat knows. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I didn't know that, like, Violate was charged with protecting Aquino, whatever the fuck people are. You know how annoying my comment section is on YouTube? Hopefully there's people who didn't know this, and I didn't. Okay, good. I'm glad that people didn't know. Fascinating to me. And good for her. Good for her. Because it's like, yeah, that's just a bold-faced fucking lie. And I know people personally who have had some very unpleasant experiences with that guy. And it all makes sense now. Because in my opinion, Violate is a Satanist. Or Setian, whatever. That's my opinion. It's interesting that, like, you know, she references him as a darling of the Tea Party, and we also know that Candace had some hot takes about the Tea Party, and, you know, he's denied X, Y, and Z, because actually we know General Flynn, right? Like, everybody wants to sit there and talk about General Flynn. And it's like, yeah, let's talk about General Flynn. I'm down with that. I'm down to clown. But there's also this guy who's on the advisory council and has been on the advisory council since 2018, as far as I can track. This is from, what is this, People For? You're just going to have to take screenshots. This is from 2014. Former Army General turned right-wing activist Paul Violate is vehemently denying the fact that he said he would support the overthrow of President Obama. He recently posted this brief statement on the homepage of his website. Talk of coup support false. This reminds me of Aquino. This is absolutely false. So, statements on the web and elsewhere that attribute me as supporting a coup are absolutely false. From the day I took oath as a young Army lieutenant to this very day, I have supported and defended the Constitution of the United States. A coup is counter to the guiding principles laid out there. Disagreement and dissension are not. It's time for change in America, and I support that change, but only in a lawful, constitutional manner. Unfortunately for Violate, we have the audio from a Tea Party event at which he said that while he opposes an anti-Obama revolution, he would certainly head it if we have to. Violate is also promoting Operation American Spring, a rally with the goal of forcing Obama out of office, and has proposed a citizen's arrest of the president, along with various unconstitutional ways of removing Obama from office, such as a national recall vote. The ex-general even believes that the traditional process of government is insufficient to remove Obama from office and called for an Egyptian-style uprising. Not false. Not false. We're going to look at, just because I told you guys that I've been getting a little LaRouche pilled. We're going to look at a LaRouche article that I thought was really fascinating because I'm sorry, when it comes to this whole topic, LaRouche was ahead of his time. I'm sorry, he was ahead of his time because he's been calling these people out. And I'm not saying that he's the only one, but I just love these old magazines, and I'll show you guys the cover once we get through this article. And then I want to read, and it's how we're going to wrap up because we've already been going for 2.5 hours. Holy fuck, this is going to be a really long show. I'm really sorry. There is a paper that I found, and I think it's really important to read about 5th generation warfare. This article is so petty, and I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with the pettiness. EIR. Oh yeah, we're getting into the EIR right now. I'm sorry. It's like, you know, whatever. Like, if LaRouche wants to act like a Nazi, it's like, yeah, well, you know, whatever. I really don't give a fuck. He's totally calling these people out. At this point, I don't care. So, Cheney's spoon benders pushing the nuclear armament. I'm sorry. It's chef's kiss, man. It's chef's kiss. Sometime in the late 1980s, then Colonel Paul E. Violate, the commander of the 7th Psychological Operations Group, United States Army Reserve, Presidio of San Francisco, California, co-authored a discussion paper which received wide and controversial attention within the U.S. military, particularly within the Special Operations Division. The paper was titled, From Psyop to Mind War, The Psychology of Victory, and it presented a Nietzschean scheme for waging perpetual psychological warfare against friend and enemy populations alike, and even against the American people. The Mind War paper was provoked by an article by Lieutenant Colonel John Alexander, which appeared in the December 1980 edition of Military Review, advocating the introduction of ESP, or extrasensory perception, telepathic behavior modification, parapsychology, psychokinesis, or mind over matter, remote viewing, out-of-body experiences, and other New Age and occult practices into U.S. military intelligence. Alexander's paper was titled The New Mental Battlefield, Beam Me Up, Spock. But the subsequent paper co-authored by Vallely went way beyond ESP and other paranormal techniques advocated by Alexander. Strategic mind war must begin the moment war is considered to be inevitable, the document stated. It must seek out the attention of the enemy nation through every available medium, and it must strike at the nation's potential soldiers before they put on their uniforms. It is in their homes and their communities that they are most vulnerable to mind war. YouTube, everybody, and I understand the irony of me saying that. To this end, Vallely and co-author continued. Mind war must be strategic in emphasis, with tactical applications playing a reinforcing supplementary role. In its strategic context, mind war must reach out to friends, enemies, and neutrals alike across the globe, neither through primitive battlefield leaflets and loudspeakers of PSYOP, nor through the weak, imprecise, and narrow efforts of psychotronics, but through the media possessed by the United States, which have the capabilities to reach virtually all people on the face of the earth. These media are, of course, the electronic media, television and radio, state-of-the-art developments in satellite communication, video recording techniques, and laser and optical transmission of broadcasts make possible a penetration of the minds of the world such as would have been inconceivable just a few years ago. And why did I highlight Excalibur? Well, we got King Arthur, we got Camelot with mapping, right? And then we've got that book that Hubbard wrote, Excalibur, that allegedly made people go insane. Like the sword Excalibur, King Arthur's magical sword, we have but to reach out, and right here there's Scientologist Hal Pluthoff. Okay, there he is with John Alexander. Oh, and there's the Mossad Spoonbender. You're a yeller. There he is. I can't stand these people. Sees this tool, and it can transform the world for us if we have the courage and the integrity to enhance civilization with it. If we do not accept Excalibur, then we relinquish our ability to inspire foreign cultures with our morality. If they can then desire moralities unsatisfactory to us, we have no choice but to fight them on a more brutish level. Mind war must target all participants to be effective. It must not only weaken the enemy, it must strengthen the United States. It strengthens the U.S. by denying enemy propaganda access to our people, and by explaining and emphasizing to our people the rationale for our national interest in a specific war. Leaving nothing to the imagination, the document concluded by emphasizing that mind war should employ subliminal brainwashing techniques and weapons that directly attack the targeted population's central nervous system and brain functioning. There are some purely natural conditions under which minds may become more or less receptive to ideas, and mind war should take full advantage of such phenomena as atmospheric electromagnetic activity, air ionization, and extremely low-frequency waves, the paper concluded. The Mind War paper was disturbing for reasons beyond its fascist and occultist content. For one thing, Colonel Vallely's co-author was a PSYOP research and analysis team leader named Major Michael A. Aquino. 5 years before the circulation of the paper, Special Forces Reserve Officer Aquino had founded the Temple of Set, a satanic organization which was the successor to Anton Szandor LaVey's Church of Satan. Aquino would soon be grabbing headlines, which persisted throughout the 80s as a leading suspect in a nationwide satanic pedophile ring that particularly targeted daycare centers on such military bases as Fort Bragg and the Presidio. Furthermore, Vallely and Aquino's Mind War scheme is remarkably similar to the Total Information Awareness, or TIA, program launched by the Donald Rumsfeld Pentagon under the direction of Iran Gate figure Admiral John Poindexter. Ostensibly, the TIA global propaganda and mega data mining plan was scrapped after a series of negative news stories, but Pentagon sources have reported that the program was merely taken into a black box. Indeed, on August 16, 2005, the New York Times' Philip Shannon revealed that a super-secret Pentagon special action program called Able Danger had tracked Mohammed Atta and 3 of the other September 11, 2001 hijackers. a year prior to the attacks, but Pentagon lawyers with the Special Operations Command refused the information to be shared with the FBI for fear of exposing the data mining program to any public scrutiny. The Times learned of Able Danger from Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Schaefer, who was the program's liaison to the Defense Intelligence Agency at the time. Colonel Vallei's association with Aquino did little to stall the former's military career advancement. A West Point graduate, Vallely retired in 1991 as Deputy Commanding General of the U.S. Army of the Pacific. From 1982 to 1986, he headed the 351st Civil Affairs Command, placing him in charge of all special forces, psychological warfare, and civil affairs military units in the western United States and Hawaii. Today, he is practicing what he and Satanist Aquino preached in the Mind War paper and is one of the leading propaganda assets in Vice President Dick Cheney's push for military confrontation with Iran, one that could see the U.S. carry out the first preemptive nuclear attack in history. And we're not going to read through all of this part again, okay, because we just read this with the Center for Strategic Policy, the Iran Policy Committee. That's fine. Obviously citing here endgames, okay. General Vallely, Colonel Alexander, and Lieutenant Colonel Aquino, retired, are but three leading figures within the special operations community who have promoted the application of New Age and outright satanic practices to the art of war, conducting experimental programs aimed at creating a Nietzschean Ubermensch warrior. In preparation for this article, EIR has interviewed several senior retired military and intelligence officers who have identified from their own personal experiences a number of other leading military officers who promoted these efforts and funneled massive amounts of Pentagon money into black programs, testing the military applications of a whole range of bizarre non-lethal techniques and technologies. Some of the top secret programs funded by taxpayer dollars over the past 25 years betray a significant degree of outright spoon-bending lunacy. Others directly lead to the doorsteps of Guantanamo Bay and Abu Ghraib military detention centers, where prisoners have been turned into human guinea pigs for experimental torture techniques drawn from the same New Age bag of tricks. And the New Yorker magazine investigative journalist Seymour Hersh, in a January 24 to 31st, 2005 article on the coming wars, mooted that the Special Forces Black programs may now have ventured into the field of pseudo-gang warfare, in which counterinsurgency methods blur with insurgency. Quoting from a September 2003 San Francisco Chronicle article by Naval postgraduate school defense analyst and Pentagon counterinsurgency advisor John Arquilla, Hersh hinted that U.S. Special Forces units were being unleashed to create their own terrorist pseudo-gangs to more easily infiltrate terrorist groups like Al-Qaeda. Arquilla wrote, when conventional military operations and bombing failed to defeat the Mau Mau insurgency in Kenya in the 1950s, the British formed teams of friendly Kikuyu tribesmen who went about pretending to be terrorists. These pseudo-gangs, as they were called, swiftly threw the Mau Mau on the defensive, either by befriending and then ambushing bands of fighters, or by guiding bombers to the terrorist camps. What worked in Kenya half a century ago has a wonderful chance of undermining trust and recruitment among today's terror networks. Forming new pseudo-gangs should not be difficult. Arquilla added for good measure, if a confused young man from Marin County can join up with Al-Qaeda, a reference to John Walker Lind, the so-called American Talibani, think what professional operatives might do. The Gang of Four. Four of the names most often cited as promoters of the programs, like the Goat Lab, the Jedi Warriors, Grill Flame, Task Force Delta, and the 1st Earth Battalion, have held top posts within the military intelligence and special operations commands. General Albert Stubblebine III was head of U.S. Army intelligence in SCOM from 1981 to 1984, during which time he launched a series of secret projects at Fort Meade involving remote viewing and other occult practices. General Stubblebine was perhaps the U.S. Army's most senior and loudest advocate of the full gamut of New Age warfare. General Peter Shoemaker, the current U.S. Army Chief of Staff, was Commanding General of the Joint Special Operations Command 94 to 96, Commander of the United States Army Special Operations Command 96 to 97, and Commander-in-Chief of the U.S. Special Operations Command 97 to 2000. And there he is. According to a well-researched book exposing the New Age penetration of the U.S. military, The Men Who Stare at Goats by John Ronson, General Shoemaker has created a think tank under the sponsorship of the COS office to expand the application of these bizarre, occult, and paranormal operations throughout the U.S. Army as his contribution to President George W. Bush's global war on terrorism. General Wayne Downing also was the Commander-in-Chief of the U.S. Special Operations Command and earlier directed all special operations during the December 1989 invasion of Panama, when some of the mind war techniques were used during the siege of the Vatican compound where General Manuel Noriega had taken refuge. Following the attacks of September 11, 2001, Downing was named National Director and Deputy National Security Advisor for Combating Terrorism in the Bush-Cheney White House, a post he held until June of 2002. According to military sources, General Downing left the White House as a result of a conflict with the Joint Chiefs of Staff over plans for the invasion of Iraq. Downing had argued that Saddam Hussein could be overthrown by a massive shock and awe bombing campaign, followed by an invasion by a force of no more than 25,000 Special Forces troops. The Downing plan was rejected by the chiefs as sheer madness, according to one senior military source familiar with the events. General William Jerry Boykin was the commanding general of the U.S. Army Special Operations Command Airborne at Fort Bragg from 1998 to 2000. Prior to that, he was the commander of the elite counter-terror unit Delta Force from 92 to 95. He was, in that capacity, in charge of the Special Forces units in Mogadishu, Somalia, during the famous 1993 Black Hawk Down incident, in which a number of Special Forces soldiers were beaten to death by warlords and dragged through the streets of the city. Here, some of Lieutenant Colonel John Alexander's non-lethal systems, including sticky foam, were put directly to combat test and failed. From March 2000 until June 2003, General Boykin headed the U.S. Army JFK Special Warfare Center. He was then named Deputy Undersecretary for Defense for Intelligence, a post he still holds. According to the New Yorker piece by Hirsch, Boykin and his immediate boss, Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence Stephen Cambone, are directly in charge of the Special Operations Search and Kill Squads touted by John Arquilla in his pseudo-gang promo. Shortly after his appointment to the Deputy Undersecretary position, General Boykin drew fire for remarks he delivered in uniform at a fundamentalist Christian church in which he smeared Islam as a satanic religion and characterized the U.S. invasion of Iraq as a religious crusade. He also said that God had placed George W. Bush into presidency, provoking serious debates about his insanity and a Pentagon Inspector General's office probe. People have been doing that since Donald Trump was elected, including people involved with Turning Point, so I think that that's kind of fucking weird, right? 1st Earth Battalion, where it all began. According to author John Ronson, in 1977, Lieutenant Colonel Jim Channon, a Vietnam War combat veteran, wrote a letter to Lieutenant General Walter Kirwan, then the U.S. Army Deputy Chief of Staff, proposing a fact-finding mission to unearth ways for the U.S. military to become more cunning. Channon was given an open-ended assignment, a small Pentagon budget, and spent the next 2 years, by his own accounts, exploring the depths of the New Age movement seeking military applications. Channon visited over 150 New Age facilities during his travels, with such countercultural names as Gentle Wind, Integral Schwann Institute, Dayspring Incorporated, the Center of Release and Integration, Postural Integration, Reiki and Rebirthing, the New Age Awareness Fair, Beyond Jogging, that doesn't sound New Age at all, Aikido with Ki, the Biofeedback Center of Berkeley, and the Esalen Institute. So there's this dude, I wish it was a clearer picture. Okay, however, Shannon particularly spent a good deal of time training under Michael Murphy, the co-founder of Esalen, which was the leading West Coast New Age psychological experimentation center, testing a wide array of mind control methods, many involving the use of psychotropic drugs. Cultist mass murderer Charles Manson spent August 5th, 1969 at Esalen, just 4 days before he unleashed the helter-skelter murder spree, for which he is still serving a lifetime jail sentence. Manson had been tracked from his years in state prison by military psychologists who were studying behavioral patterns of what they dubbed the pathologically violent 5%. Do you see what I mean about Tom O'Neill's did not spend 20 years on fuck all? Let's continue. In 1979, Lieutenant Colonel Channon presented his findings to the Army brass in a 125-page document, complete with slides, called the 1st Earth Battalion. While the document was laced with New Age vocabulary, the 1st Earth is not mission-oriented, it is potential-oriented. That means we shall continue to look everywhere to find non-destructive methods of control. Shannon did propose an array of non-lethal techniques that would soon be adopted by the military, including the use of atonal noises as a form of combat psychological warfare, Oriental martial arts and spiritualist instruction, and widespread experimentation with psychoelectronics and other means of debilitating enemy forces. Shannon's first Earth Battalion slideshow was brought to General Stubblebine, the head of INSCOM, by Colonel Alexander, the author of the Military Review article on the new mental battlefield, and by 1981, Stubblebine established a secret psychic spies unit at Fort Meade to test out such dubious techniques as remote viewing. 2 years later, General Stubblebine traveled to Fort Bragg to pitch the Shannon-Alexander program to the top leadership of the Special Operations community. By now, Stubblebine was convinced that with the application of the right mind-over-matter techniques, he could personally walk through walls. As of this writing, he has not yet apparently succeeded. The Fort Bragg session, as he would later recount it to Arthur Bronson, was a fiasco, and no action was taken to implement his program, or so Stubblebine thought. In reality, Fort Bragg by 1978 was already a hotbed of mind war experimentation. Holy fuck, has this aged well or what? Among the programs carried out at remote corners of the sprawling Special Operations Base, the Goat Lab, where a team of new age-trained Special Forces soldiers attempted to burst the hearts of goats in an adjacent holding pen through the power of psychic concentration. Veterinarians working on the base were horrified that Special Forces planes were airlifting goats up from Central America without going through the normal customs inspections. The goats were used in the training of combat medics. The goats would be shot, their limbs would be amputated, and on some occasions they were debleeded by having their tongues cut out or their throats slashed. Then they were subjected to Goat Lab's psychic warfare test. Keying off of Shannon's blueprint, a special operations experimental team dubbed Jedi Warriors after the Star Wars craze were trained in a wide array of Eastern Oriental martial arts and meditation techniques, combined with super strenuous physical training programs. Outside experts like Dr. Jim Hart were brought in to train the Jedi Warriors to heighten their mental telepathy skills through Zen. Following Jim Channon's first Earth Battalion recipe, Stuart Heller, a New Age psychologist who gave classes in stress control to corporate executives and officials at NASA, was brought in to provide similar schooling to the commandos. Channon had been introduced to Heller by Marilyn Ferguson, the author of the 1980 book The Aquarian Conspiracy, which peddled a New Age version of H.G. Wells' original open conspiracy concept of mass social control and cultural paradigm shifts. Not all of the instructors of the Jedi Warriors were counterculture psychologists. Michael Ekanus, a Green Beret who was badly wounded in Vietnam but later developed advanced martial arts skills, was brought in to train the Jedi in Hua Rang Do, a combat technique that emphasized invisibility. Ekanus would be killed in 1978 in Nicaragua while working as a mercenary for the regime of Anastasio Somoza. He had been the martial arts editor of Soldier of Fortune magazine, a well-known hiring hall for ex-soldiers and wannabes seeking their fortunes as mercenaries. By 1983, between the INSCOM program and the black box efforts at Fort Bragg, a fairly extensive network of military spoonbenders had been assembled, to the point that Task Force Delta was created to stage quarterly meetings of as many as 300 military occult practitioners at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. Colonel Frank Burns launched Meta Network, one of the first chat rooms run through DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency computer networking system that would eventually evolve into the Internet. The scheme to create a breed of Nietzschean super soldiers employed some very far-out characters like the Israeli spoonbender Yuri Geller, a one-time stage magician who was brought into the U.S. intelligence community under the original patronage of Dr. Andrija Puharich, a doctor who had been conducting work on parapsychology and telepathy for the U.S. Army's Psychological Warfare Division since the 50s. Dr. Puharich ran the Round Table Foundation of Electrobiology, which experimented with the manipulation of brainwaves. He worked closely with Warren S. McCulloch, one of the founders of cybernetics, and with the British intelligence counterculture guru Aldous Huxley. Whew. Oh my god. I can't believe there's still 30 people here, or 33 people. I have no idea. I just don't expect people on YouTube to go and find this EIR article. So I want to make sure that I'm reading through this just so that I know that I put it out there, even though it's obviously taking me a lot longer than what I had wanted. That way I know that I did. And if people want to listen, that's fine. But fuck. Come on, man. Talk about fucking men who stare at goats. These people are sick. You realize that, right? These people are sick. The article is insane. It's this is what that movie's based off of, though, is this is the men who stare at goats. These people are sick. Because I haven't even gotten to the fucking paper. They made a comedy out of a horror show. Correct, because it is a horror show. I mean, it's the unnecessary torture of animals is just wrong. Like, do you value human life over animal life? Yes, I think that you save a human before you save an animal. However, they were just torturing and killing these animals for no reason. Did you have to deblete them and cut out their tongue? No. Did you have to dismember them? No. You didn't have to do all that. But you did, because these people are sick, because they're fucking psychos. According to author Ronson, in an October 2001 interview in London, Uri Geller confided to him that he had been called back to work for the U.S. government immediately after the September 11th attacks. It seems that the Bush administration decided that the psychic spies could play a productive role in the hunt for Osama bin Laden and in efforts to prevent a replay of the terror attacks on New York and Washington. In fact, Deputy Secretary of Defense Paul Wolfowitz had been a big advocate of some of Alexander and Shannon's ideas while serving as the chief policy advisor to then Defense Secretary Dick Cheney in the George Herbert Walker Bush Pentagon. On March 10, 1991, Wolfowitz wrote a memo to Cheney, "Do we need a non-lethal defense initiative?" in which he wrote, "A U.S. lead in non-lethal technologies will increase our options and reinforce our position in the post-Cold War world." While Wolfowitz apparently made no mention of the more bizarre practices promoted by Colonel Alexander, the guru of the non-lethal weaponry campaign, at the time of Wolfowitz's memo, Alexander had retired from active duty and had been named head of the Non-Lethal Weapons Program at Los Alamos National Laboratory. In 1990, Colonel Alexander had also come out with a book, The Warrior's Edge, in which he promoted a variety of unconventional methods to promote human excellence and optimum performance among soldiers, based on a course he taught in 1983 called Neuro-Linguistic Programming, or NLP. We're not going to get into that today. Among the students in that course were then Senator and later Vice President Albert Gore, General Max Thurman, and General Stubblebine. By his own accounts, Alexander and Gore became close friends in 1983 and remain so today. Colonel Alexander wrote that the goal of the Warrior's Edge was to unlock the door to the extraordinary human potentials inherent in each of us. To do this, we, like governments around the world, must take a fresh look at non-traditional methods of affecting reality. We must raise human consciousness of the potential power of the individual body-mind system, the power to manipulate reality. We must be willing to take control of our past, present, and ultimately our future. Uri Geller was not the only psychic warrior called back to government service after 9/11. Jim Channon, the original 1st Earth Battalion New Age super soldier, according to author Ronson, began holding a series of meetings in early 2004 with the new Army Chief of Staff, General Pete Shoemaker. Shoemaker had been commander of Special Forces at Fort Bragg when the GOAT Lab and Jedi Warrior programs were underway. Ronson wrote that the rumor was that General Shoemaker was considering bringing Jim back from retirement to create or contribute to a new and secret think tank designed to encourage the Army to take their minds further and further outside the mainstream. Ronson described it as a revival of Task Force Delta. Ronson soon received an email from Channon confirming the rumor and explaining that the think tank idea had been floated because Rumsfeld has now openly asked for creative input on the war on terrorism. Channon elaborated, "The Army has requested my services to teach the most highly selected majors. The 1st Earth Battalion is the teaching exemplar of choice. I have done that in the presence of General Pete Shoemaker. I am in contact with players who are or have recently been in Afghanistan and Iraq. I have sent in exit strategy plans based on Earth Battalion ideas. I talk weekly with a member of a stress control battalion in Iraq who carries the manual and uses it to inform his teammates of their potential service contributions." The International Committee of the Red Cross has published a series of studies and sponsored several international conventions to evaluate just how non-lethal the non-lethal technologies are that have been promoted by Alexander, Channon, and their ilk. According to a 1998 ICRC presentation before the European Parliament, non-lethal weapons are simply defined as weapons with a less than 25% fatality rate. Such now widely used non-lethal weapons as lasers, extremely low frequency or ELF weapons, and various chemical, biological, and audio stun weapons can cause permanent damage such as blindness, deafness, and destruction of gastrointestinal systems, which the ICRC insists requires serious study and a new set of international treaties and conventions. Indeed, according to both Ronson and the New Yorker writer Jane Mayer, many of the torture techniques employed at Guantanamo Bay, at Abu Ghraib, and at such less well-known locales as Al-Qaim near the Syrian border in Iraq are based on Channon and Alexander's non-lethal schemes. but with lethal consequences in some cases. Ronson confirmed that at a facility at Al-Qaim was conducting interrogations of captured Iraqi insurgents after playing nonstop for days at a time the theme song from Barney the Purple Dinosaur, I Love You. Ronson is convinced that the music was a cover for subliminal frequencies, very high or very low frequency sounds that affect brain functioning to break prisoners' resistance. The prisoners were kept in metal shipping containers in the scorching sun, blindfolded and in crouching positions, surrounded by barbed wire with the music and subliminals blaring. In an article published in the July 11th to 18th, 2005 issue of The New Yorker, Mayer revealed that the Special Forces psychologist from the Survival, Evasion, Resistance, and Escape, or SEER program. Do you see how they hide this shit? Okay, SEER, you get it? At the JFK Special Warfare School at Fort Bragg had been brought to Guantanamo Bay to oversee interrogation strategies. The SEER psychologists formed a core of the Behavioral Science Consultation Teams, BSCT, or BISCUITS, that reverse engineered the techniques that were used on Special Force soldiers to train them to survive enemy torture interrogations as part of the Advanced Special Warfare Program at Fort Bragg. Jim Channon confirmed in another email exchange with author Ronson that many of the ideas adopted by the Army intelligence interrogators at Guantanamo, Abu Ghraib, and Al-Qaim came right out of his 1st Earth Battalion blueprint. At one point in his probe of the military spoonbenders, John Ronson asked Stuart Heller, the friend of Marilyn Ferguson and Jim Channon, if he could name one soldier who was the living embodiment of the 1st Earth Battalion. Without a second thought, Heller replied, Bert Rodriguez. Bert's one of the most spiritual guys I've ever met, Heller told Ronson. No, spiritual is the wrong word. He's a cultic. He's like a walking embodiment of death. He can stop you at a distance. He can influence physical events just with his mind. If he catches your attention, he can stop you without touching you. As John Ronson reported, in April 2001, Bert Rodriguez took on a new student. His name was Ziad Jarrah. Ziad had just turned up at the U.S. Fitness One Center one day and said he had heard that Bert was good. Why Ziad chose Bert of all the martial arts instructors scattered around the Florida shoreline is a matter of speculation. Maybe Bert's uniquely occultic reputation preceded him, or perhaps it was Bert's military connections. Plus, Bert had once taught the head of security for a Saudi prince. Maybe that was it. Ziad Jarrah presented himself as a Lebanese businessman who traveled a great deal and wanted to protect himself. I liked Ziad a lot, Rodriguez later told Ronson. He was very humble, very quiet. He was in good shape, very diligent. Rodriguez taught Jarrah the choke and hold and the kamikaze spirit. You need a code you die for, a do-or-die desire, Rodriguez added. Ziad was like Luke Skywalker. You know when Luke walks the invisible path, you have to believe it's there. If you do believe it, it is there. Yeah, Ziad believed it. He was like Luke Skywalker. Rodriguez trained Ziad Jarrah for 6 months and gave him copies of several knife-fighting books he had written. Jarrah shared them with a friend, Marwan al-Shai, who boarded with him at the Panther Motel and Apartments in Deerfield Beach, Florida. On September 11, 2001, Ziad Jarrah took control of United Airlines 93 and crashed it in a field in Pennsylvania. Marwan al-Shai commanded United Airlines Flight 175 and crashed it into the South Tower of the World Trade Center in Lower Manhattan. For those who don't know, now you know. I love a good LaRouche, just like, it's just like, fuck. It's like such a banger of an article. Such a banger of an article. It's a great article. I'm sorry. It's very well written. But let me show you guys the cover just so you guys can see it. LaRouche ain't always wrong. I'm not saying he's always right. You gotta check things for yourself. However, still very funny. I mean, I'm totally not against this. Soldiers of Satan. I mean, I think that this is just, it's aged very well. Stop Cheney's monsters now. Then there's the article. It is in the way back. Should you want to Google it, it's just chef's kiss. Absolute chef's kiss. I love that stuff. It's rich and compelling. Ooh, we got 20 pages to get through. Fuck. I don't know if I want to read this whole thing. Damn it, this is a really good paper, but I don't know if I can do it, guys. I may just touch on it a little bit, scan through it. We'll go through the title page, and then I'll read what I highlighted, because I don't think my brain or my eyes can take this much reading. But the paper's important, in my opinion. I think it's very well researched. I think that the author doesn't draw too many unfair conclusions. It's a thesis paper for college, so I think that generally you kind of have to be unbiased with that kind of stuff, right? Because the 5th generation warfare thing is the whole point of this. Like, I've got to drive that home. Because again, if you think that this is different than Russia or China, it is in little ways. But you think that, like, you're not being propagandized anymore. It's just not men staring at goats that we know of. There could still be goats being harmed. I cannot confirm or deny because I don't know anybody that runs in these type of circles. Hopefully there are not goats that are being harmed. That's all I can say. No, Mockingbird never stopped. No. And this is like, Candace says Mockingbird a lot, and she says, like, you know, these psychological operations, like, whatever. And it's like, shut the fuck up. You have a Mockingbird agent telling you that she's not Mockingbird and that everybody's falling for a Mockingbird operation. Because she has admitted, and I showed it in the last episode, she acknowledges she's new media. She doesn't want to fumble that ball. Those were her words of the trust. She is Mockingbird. But because you go on your phone or your computer and you choose it, you think that you're making a choice. You have the illusion of choice. But you're getting played by the algorithm. Because again, people who are like truthing out here, they're not going to be number one. And again, I'm not shitting on someone's success. I'm sorry, she's not organically successful. She's a fucking con artist. I have no problem saying that. Sue me. Go for it. Good luck. Trying to squeeze blood out of a dried turnip. I just wish that people could break from, you know, the cult of personality, man. It bums me out. Because there's people that I really respect and that are really smart, that, like, they just are totally, like, in it. And it's not just Candace. It's other people. It's Tucker. It's Tim Pool. It's Nick Fuentes. Like, I don't really know if I know anybody that's super into Fuentes, but I think most people watch him with a critical eye or listen with a critical ear. However, it doesn't matter who it is. They are just totally in it. And I'm like, guys. Oh, like Tucker got fired from Fox. Ian Carroll. Alex Jones. Exactly. It's the same thing. People are like, oh, is Ian Carroll a limited hangout? What the fuck do you think? Why is this guy going on fucking Candace Owens, going on InfoWars when what did he do? He was pushing some weird, like, AI or, you know, I don't know, some digital crap. And also he was literally just reading other people's stuff on TikTok. None of it was original. I'll say my opinion of Sam Tripoli because we're not on YouTube. And this is going to be very unpopular. And I will cut this out. But again, this is just what I've been told, warned by numerous people over the years. And he's also just fucking goofy. He's not saying anything. He's always just like, what? What? It's like, what am I going to do? What am I going to have to talk about with that guy? Nothing. I'm going to be like, why do you keep asking me what? Are you shocked or do you not comprehend? Can you clarify for the class, please? It's not that the guy's not funny. He's funny sometimes. But it's also like, you're part of like the Joe Rogan crew, bro. The whole Joe Rogan crew is shady as fuck. I'm sorry. They blatantly brag about doing illegal drugs, moving illegal drugs, you know, especially like across state lines, on airplanes, throughout the Comedy Store. Like, I don't think that the Comedy Store, the whole thing was just related to COVID. And I don't think that Joe's exodus to Austin was completely organic. And I think that he was telling his friends to get the fuck out of Dodge. All right, let's go ahead and let's continue. So this is from the Journal of Strategic Security. We're not going to read the whole thing, guys, because we've been going for a long time. 5th Generation Warfare, Hybrid Warfare, and Gray Zone Conflict, a comparison by Armin Christian from East Carolina University, 2022. We're not going to read this whole thing because I can't do it. I just can't. I would like to. I will find where I got this from. Okay, but right here. we just read in that article about John Archaea, right? So during the 90s, when the Revolution in Military Affairs, or RMA school of thought, was prominent, John Archaea and Donald Rumsfeld laid out their ideas of information warfare, net war, and conflict at the societal level waged by networks involving measures short of war. They predicted that most net war actors will be non-state and even stateless. Some may be agents of a state, but others may turn states into their agents. Odd hybrids and symbioses are likely. I'm highlighting these things because it's thinking outside of the box of propaganda warfare. Because this is how I look at all of this stuff in particular right now. Because the Charlie Kirk shit has not stopped. And maybe this is like an overreaction to all of that. In 99, two Chinese strategists, clearly influenced by the network concept, published their book, Unrestricted Warfare, which claimed that war will no longer be what it was originally. They argued that warfare will transcend all boundaries and limits. In short, unrestricted warfare. This means that war would now include everything that can be used to weaken or destroy an adversary with nothing forbidden, and to combine it all for maximum effort. Robert Bunker, who reviewed Unrestricted Warfare, has suggested that the significance of this work cannot be overstated. Arguably, the concept of unrestricted warfare also profoundly impacted and influenced the schools of thought of fifth-generation warfare, hybrid warfare, and gray zone conflict. Advances in biotechnology and nanotechnology would drive fifth-generation warfare. These technologies could enable super-empowered individuals or small groups to pursue ideological or personal objectives independent of nations, but leveraging state-like capabilities. An individual or small group could carry out a massively destructive bioterrorism attack on a nation-state with technological capabilities that may even originate from a nation-state, as happened during the 2001 Amerithrax attack. A sophisticated treatment of fifth-generation warfare is found in the aforementioned article by Donald Reed, who has pointed out that as of 2008, there was no common definition. For Reed, fifth-generation warfare is the outcome of changes that are occurring in the information age. He suggests that fifth-generation warfare transcends fourth-generation warfare by expanding the domains of conflict even further to include the physical, including land, air, and sea, information, including cyber, cognitive, and social, including political domains. So the fifth generation warfare handbook, I included that in the schizo clip that I made about Charlie, right, in regards to mapping. The book suggests that fifth generation warfare would amount to moral and cultural warfare that is fought through manipulating perceptions and altering the context by which the world is perceived. The theory suggests that in fifth generation warfare, violence is so dispersed that the losing side may never realize that it has been conquered. The secrecy of fifth generation warfare makes it the hardest generation of war to study. The handbook proposed dropping the term generation altogether and to replace it with gradient or grade. This means that the history of warfare is not a sequential evolution of different modes of a war, a major criticism of fourth generation warfare. The handbook further suggests that fifth generation warfare is the manipulation of the observational context in order to make the enemy do our will. Success in fifth generation warfare would depend on deception and misdirection, rather than the use of violence, as proxies are co-opted or manipulated to act on the sponsor's behalf without even knowing it. Daniel Abbott wrote, "A fifth-generation war might be fought with one side not knowing who is fighting. Or even a brilliantly executed fifth-generation war might involve one side being completely ignorant that there ever was a war." That is one of the statements that slap for me. You don't even know that it's going on because, again, you have the illusion of fucking choice. And I can't prove it one way or another. This is just my opinion, watching this stuff go on and watching these people act fucking rabid. And it's tearing apart friendships, tearing apart relationships. Some terrorism scholars have adopted the concept of fifth-generation warfare and have given it a different interpretation. George Michael invoked the concept in his book on lone wolf terror and the rise of leaderless resistance. He claimed that a distinguishing characteristic of fifth-generation warfare is its leaderlessness. In Michael's view, the current terrorism shares similarities with the anarchist movement of the 19th century, and that terrorism in the West appears to be moving in the direction of leaderless resistance and lone wolf attacks, despite the limitations of this approach. The threat would be based on the ability of above-ground groups to raise ideological consciousness that can also motivate unaffiliated underground movement radicals to commit random acts of terror. In this sense, fifth-generation warfare would be a more advanced insurgency that is extremely difficult to defeat, since it is so highly individualized and dispersed. At this time, Western national discourse has dropped the notion of fifth-generation warfare. However, the concept is usually popular in South Asia, with a still expanding scholarship in India, Pakistan, and Singapore. What has replaced fifth-generation warfare in the West is North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO's, new concept of cognitive warfare, which NATO first introduced in 2021. That's right, fucking mind war. In cognitive warfare, the human mind becomes the battlefield. The aim is to change not only what people think, but how they think and act. In its extreme form, it has the potential to fracture and fragment an entire society so that it no longer has the collective will to resist an adversary's intentions. This is NATO. This is fucking NATO, okay? An example of fifth generation warfare or cognitive warfare is the alternative media space. Tell me that they're not doing this right now, which has become a new battlefield for the mind of the people. Andreas Turin claims that the incentive of the alternative narratives is to decrease the public trust on government. And despite the differences in the political leanings of different alt news sites, they seem to share common anti-government objectives and aspirations. I think that this is so fascinating, but I also think that it's really, really dark. I'm not going to lie. It's extremely dark. Media reports have widely used the term hybrid warfare during the Ukraine crisis of 2014 to describe Russia's military and non-military activities in relation to Ukraine. NATO particularly emphasized the role of hybrid warfare propaganda for demoralizing populations and destabilizing countries. According to NATO, hybrid threats combine military and non-military, as well as covert and overt means, including disinformation, cyber attacks, economic pressure, deployment of irregular armed groups, and use of regular forces. Hybrid methods are used to blur the lines between war and peace and attempt to sow doubt in the minds of target populations. They aim to destabilize and undermine societies. A particular concern at the time were Russia's use of disinformation, deceptive narratives, internet propaganda or trolls, cyber warfare, the use of energy as leverage, and the weaponization of migration, all of which were not violent or traditionary military activities, and none of which amount in themselves to an act of war. NATO even established in 2017 a Center of Excellence for Countering Hybrid Threats in Helsinki. Interestingly, a report of a NATO-sponsored workshop in Finland from 2016 concluded that the hybrid warfare concept is not suitable as an analytical tool for assessing Russian military capabilities or foreign policy intentions, and should therefore not be used as the basis for strategic decision-making and defense planning. Hybrid war is an apt description of NATO's activities in response to the Russian military invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. Not only are NATO members supplying Ukrainian forces with billions of US dollars worth of conventional weaponry, including rocket artillery, howitzers, and armored vehicles, but there is also an effort to supply anti-tank missiles and other small arms to both government and paramilitary forces in Ukraine. NATO combined these actions with heavy sanctions, an attack on the Russian currency, and information warfare. And in regards to gray zone conflict, the future strategic landscape will increasingly feature challenges in the ambiguous gray area that is neither fully war nor fully peace, based on the historical paradigm of the Cold War. Because we're still seeing Cold War propaganda. Okay, so aggressors would rely on covert or ambiguous actions that undermine the interests of their adversaries to avoid a military conflict that they would be unlikely to win. Opponents may use diplomacy, legal challenges, espionage, propaganda, subversion, and military intimidation to get what they want without fighting. And it says here the gray zone conflict has suffered both scathing criticism and enjoyed heightened interest in recent years. But it says that there are good reasons to not dismiss it too quickly. Writing for the Foreign Policy Research Institute, Hal Brands explains the approaches are indeed prevalent in today's security environment, particularly citing in Iran, which obviously, hello, what the fuck is going on in Iran? Okay, obviously, yeah, we did a lot of the stuff in Ukraine. I'm not here to debate people about that. That's not happening. I don't think that any of these theories should be thrown out of the window, because I do think that all of these theories are valid, but it's this whole thing about perception being the primary battlefield. The human mind, the human body, is the battlefield. To quote a famous Psywar paper, wars are fought and won or lost, not on battlefields, but in the minds of men. You think that because you hold the technology within your hand, that you're not being manipulated. But you are. I'm sorry. Knowledge is power. Historical knowledge is power. Understanding history is power. Nobody can know everything. I'm not an expert on anything, but I keep my mind open, and there are people who are well versed in these topics. I believe in fact-checking people, checking sources, people citing their sources, but you need to understand that like the shit is on the next level. And it does not make sense to me unless this is what's going on. It does not make sense to me why someone like Violate would be on the board of Turning Point. Why would he be there? Because obviously his Satan connections aren't helpful. And again, I think it's very fucking odd that Candace did not point that out. This is not a secret. I did find this in the Wayback. I could not find anything prior to this. However, or not the Wayback, this is the alternative archive. I apologize. So, Advisory Council, this is from 2018. Not going to sit here and read every single name. However, right there, Paul Violate. So he has been a part of Turning Point since 2018, at least, if not longer. It's kind of funny because that's when Candace showed up too, right? So I don't really know. They have pulled in so much money. This media campaign has not stopped. That Superfeed Technologies thing is like this weird app on your phone where they're definitely not tracking you, right? They're not mining your data. Her mom, Erica's mother, right? Like they're not mining your data or anything. It's totally legit. But they're weaponizing people's religious beliefs as well. And I think that that is incredibly deceptive. But I also think that that makes sense if we're thinking outside of the box, so to speak, in regards to a Hearts and Minds campaign. And I think that this has been the long con with the Don, poet, and I didn't know it. With him being in like evangelical circles and, you know, Flynn, and I always forget her name. It always escapes me. The Scientologist who's fucking crazy, like with the short blonde hair, these people running in like almost like the tent revival circuit. This makes sense in the progression of psychological warfare, in my opinion. I'm just saying. I hope that people will. I'm not telling you what to do with your money. You should stop falling for this shit, man.